the maternal father of the Pokémon world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76, The Source of the Mega Evolution Stone. Kit, May 5th, night point outside the Nabi City Museum. Kids fans were holding various signs and flags and were chanting their idol's name point. Although the Junchus were very angry about this, they could only maintain the order on the scene. The number of tickets released by the museum today is limited, and most people can only go outside point. While entering through the VIP passage, Eminem looked at the crowd outside and said, "That guy kid is fine if young girls like it. I guess most of these guys are fake fans. Hey." Zyraksha glared at him from the side, reminding him not to speak so vulgarly. Point. When I came to the museum, all the people had not yet gathered at Gyarados Roth. After all, it was only 6 o'clock, and there were still more than 3 hours before the time cut announced. Point. However, Amu and Zyraksha had already seen other exhibition halls the day before yesterday, so they went directly to the exhibition hall of Gyarados Roth. Because the flow of people is limited, and there is no moonlight at this time, there are not many people in this exhibition hall. Point. At this moment, a slight commotion sounded. I saw the crowd that had been surrounding the glass wall of the pool suddenly backed up a bit with an exclamation point. It was the Gyarados that woke up at this moment and rushed towards the glass wall. Point. Such a big Gyarados rushed over. Even knowing that it was separated by a wall, it still shocked everyone, and they all backed away. Point. But as soon as everyone retreated, it was obvious that there was another little girl there. Instead of hiding, she patted the glass wall and shouted, "Long long, long long. Are you okay?" At this time, the Tyrannosaurus rubbed the little girl's position through the glass wall. Point. But after that, he didn't stay for long and swam around again and returned to the booth in the water. Dragon, Chino, you can't. It's too dangerous." The woman next to her hurriedly pulled the little girl away. Point. Then Amu saw someone who might be Mr. Giazzi, whom he met the day before yesterday, talking to his wife and daughter. As for why it is possible, because Amu is face blind, of course he can't remember seeing him once, so he asked Zyraksha again to confirm. It's Mr. Giazzi's youngest daughter. It is said that she has a good relationship with that Gyarados, but she is only a little familiar with that Gyarados. Sonoko walked over and explained. Point. The Gyarados of the late Ms. Minna only looked at her granddaughter a little differently, but it was only some. Otherwise she would not have been guarding Gyarados Roth. Dad, when can we bring Long Long home?" the little girl asked Giazzi while pulling him. Point. At this moment, Giazzi's face was at hen. Big Five walked over with a smile and said, "Ha, you can do it anytime. I didn't stop you from taking the Gyarados away. After all, it's illegal to mortgage Pokémon, and you don't need to pay me back." "Yes, right, Miss Junsha." Speaking of that, Dawn looked to her side and saw Yumi following beside her with a bad face. At this moment she saw the scene of Giazzi repaying the debt just now, so she could naturally see that it must be Doru's deceit. "You guy, that Gyarados Roth is also Oka's Mega Evolution Stone." Hearing this, Giazzi wanted to quarrel with Doru again. Oka is the official stage name of this Gyarados as Ms. Minna's partner, and Dragon should be a private nickname. Point. But this time Big Five brought bodyguards, looked at Giazzi, who was stopped, and said calmly, "No, this is the wild Gyarados I temporarily adopted, and the Mega Evolution Stone that comes with it. According to the 4th Amendment of the Mega Evolution Stone property law case, I own it. The cause of the Mega Evolutionary Stone is still a mystery, and among the discovered Mega Evolutionary Stones, wild Pokémon carry is a major source. Pokémon scholars believe that this is because wild Pokémon also have instincts, find and get close to the Mega Evolution Stones of the same origin as themselves, but without the cooperation of trainers and keystones, they cannot complete Mega Evolution alone. Some scholars also believe that the keystone is only an auxiliary function, As long as the Pokémon grows to a certain level, it can theoretically resonate with the Mega Evolution Stone by itself and trigger Mega Evolution Point, and this is also related to the question of whether it is legal for the trainer to obtain Mega Evolution Stones from wild Pokémon, or whether it is considered abuse of wild Pokémon Point in the end. The consensus reached by the major alliances in this regard is the 4th Amendment to the ownership of Mega Evolution Stones. If Pokémon can Mega Evolve, then Mega Evolution Stones belong to Pokémon itself, and humans cannot deprive them of it. If they cannot Mega Evolve, then humans can gain ownership of it. Point. Although the Junsha family has objections to this, the resistance to obtaining Mega Evolution Stones from wild Pokémon is too great. Point. And right now, it is true that after the death of Ms. Mina, the Gyarados cannot Mega Evolve and has not even been subdued by others. It is theoretically a wild Pokémon. Point. Big 5 had tampered with the mortgage contract, making it an invalid contract even if Yumi and the Suzuki family were not present just now. He wanted Giazi to return the money to him and then give the Gyarados the card returns back. Point. However, Yumi timely emphasized the law that Pokémon cannot be used as collateral, and Gyarados wrath, in theory, is the Mega Evolutionary Stone picked up by wild Gyarados during Big 5's taking in Gyarados and belongs to Big 5. Point. Seeing this, Armu pushed Conan, who seemed to be thinking, "Hey, what are you doing?" Conan said angrily when he saw this. "Get closer to him," Eminem suggested. "Don't make trouble. I'm thinking about Kid's way of intrusion. Walking from the moonlight. Do you have any clues?" Conan asked Eminem casually. "In the case of moonlight, it should come in through the skylight when there is moonlight." Eminem's thoughts were straightforward. Point. Conan glanced at Eminem speechlessly, then chuckled and said, "That's right." Uncle Kagoro reasoned in the same way. Eminem always feels despised. Seeing that Conan was still thinking, Armu took the initiative to ask, when he escaped before, "Did you figure out the moment he passed through the glass?" What's the matter? Kid is a master of physical skills and superpowers. Although it is impossible to initiate teleportation by himself like the master of Nazi, but it is definitely possible to do it with teleportation carried by Pokémon. Arrived, Conan said confidently. Slim Shady. Well, Eminem was still skeptical. That was also some kind of magic trick, so it was so simple and rude. It's not difficult for him to sneak in, but that Gyarados is not so easy to fool, especially when he dives into the water. He will definitely be attacked if he becomes anyone. Conan said confidently. "You said, could it be Kid who transformed the Gyarados now?" Eminem said with a big brain. Conan gave him a blank look. Although he still doesn't know the principle of Kid's transformation, but he has to talk about some basic rules. How could he become such a big Gyarados? At the same time, Eminem kept staring at Gyarados wrath and Keystone, which made Conan look at him suspiciously. After seeing Conan's eyes, Eminem rubbed his dog's head and said, "I'm definitely not Kid's disguise. Right? Shinichi." Cough, cough, cough. Conan immediately interrupted Armu's dangerous behavior nervously and looked in Xiaolan's direction, making sure that other people didn't notice what Armu said, and then he calmed down. Chapter 77. The Appearance of the Strange Thief. May 5th, at 9 o'clock in the evening. The Moonlight Exhibition Hall of the Nabi Museum has begun to clear. Ordinary visitors were pushed out of the exhibition hall by Junsha's human wall. Sometimes, if the exhibition is stopped, Kid will not come to perform on the grounds that there is no audience for prodigy. This is unacceptable. But today this is not an accident, nor is it a deceit. Because the opening hours of the Nabi Fossil Museum are originally only until 9 o'clock in the evening. Now only this exhibition hall has been cleared, which is already the result of the extended business. I believe Kid should have expected it long ago. At the same time, in addition to the large number of Junshas at the entrance of the exhibition hall, blocking the crowds of spectators, there are also many Junshas arranged on the roof. Obviously, this is that Kagoro's reasoning has really been taken seriously. Only Conan has always felt that something is wrong, and at this time, relying on his short stature, the one with a stuck perspective is still in the exhibition hall. His technique of blocking a perspective is really unique. Although Amu, Zyarksha and others were not cleared out as ordinary guests, They were all standing on the other side at this time, so as not to affect Junsha's work, and to prevent Kid from pretending to be them to approach. At this moment, the exhibition hall suddenly shut down like a textbook, and the surrounding area was completely dark. At the same time, the moonlight coming in from the window became more conspicuous, like a natural spotlight. Kid, 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 there were constant shouts outside, and Junsha, who was present, also became nervous. However, when all the Junshas were on guard against the outside, Xiaolan suddenly saw something, couldn't help but exclaimed, and pointed to the pool. Everyone followed and saw. At this time, there was a figure in a white dress in the pool, as if emerging out of thin air from the moonlight. Not only can I not see what diving equipment I have brought, but I just stand on the bottom of the water so smoothly, and it looks like I'm in the air. There is no sense of hindrance in the water. The movements are normal and coordinated, and even the white cloak flutters slightly with point. I saw Kid walking towards the underwater platform step by step, walking leisurely as if walking on flat ground. Not good. Stop him. Yinsen immediately shouted. Immediately, several rays of light were released onto the water surface, and aquatic Pokémon appeared one by one. The Junshas had already prepared aquatic Pokémon to deal with the scene of possible battles in the water, but at this moment, Yumi hurriedly shouted, "Wait, TCH, however, it is still a step too slow." 7 or 8 aquatic Pokémon such as Mosquito Incense Warrior, Gotha Duck, and Goldfish King have already entered the pool. Immediately afterwards, the Gyarados roared angrily at these aquatic Pokémon and twisted its body, causing violent water fluctuations, stirred the other Pokémon around for a while, and at the same time, under the turbulent water flow, it was difficult to see the situation outside. Conan also muttered oops in a low voice. At this time these Junshas are still too anxious. That Kid is not necessarily a phantom or real, and even if it is real, it is not easy for him to get close to the booth, guarded by the Gyarados. You can work hard on blocking the way out. Sending Pokémon into the pool all at once is simply adding to the chaos. Seeing this, Yumi immediately reached out to the Tyrannosaurus Oka, hoping to calm it down. But obviously it doesn't work out. The other aquatic Pokémon were quickly rushed to the corner of the pool. After all, their strength was far inferior to the king level Gyarados Oka. At the same time, after the water subsided slightly, everyone saw Kid approaching from the bottom of the water on foot again. However, Oka had also spotted Kid at this time, focused on him, and turned around to confront him. And Kid also slowed down his approaching speed at this time. Good boy, let me see your Mega Stone, and then I will send it back to where it should go. Kid whispered. From Kid's point of view, there is no water around him at all. It seems that there is an invisible cover that isolates the water in the pool and moves with itself. From the perspective of the Gyarados, Kid in front of him was gradually replaced by Mina's Phantom, which made it stunned for a moment. Immediately next to Kid, a strange current surged. Suddenly it was Kid who was using phantoms to confuse the Gyarados, while his real body had already begun to dive to approach. Gyarados wrath. You don't need to fool the Gyarados, just distract it temporarily. Not good. He got Gyarados wrath. Conan kept paying attention to the situation here. Seeing wrath of the Gyarados flickering out of thin air, he immediately shouted, and at the same time Kid also appeared. Invisibility is harder than changing into other forms, because invisibility means that you have to plant phantoms around you that change with the environment. But what Kid didn't expect was that a glass wall suddenly began to descend at this moment, but it still caught the Gyarados wrath in front of him. What happens when the bucket is pulled out of a board? The water in the pool suddenly poured out from the falling glass wall. What's going on? Silverson asked hastily. Mr. Big 5, you. Immediately, Junsha found out that it was Doru who was operating the console because he was the owner of Gyarados wrath. He was also allowed to stay in the exhibition hall. Since you can't use it in the water, let the water go. Why are you still standing there? Why don't you catch him quickly? Don't lose my Gyarados wrath. Dabu was confident said. But Conan cursed inwardly at this time. Now the chaotic water flow and the stimulated Gyarados provided cover for Kid. Where's Kid? Not good. On top, people on the roof. Stop him. At this time, Kid had already used the launch gun. to hang the portable cable on the skylight and was rising from the ground point at the same time. Gyarados chased after it with a climbing waterfall. Although the modern Gyarados has lost the ability to fly long distances, and for a long time, when using climbing waterfall, it can still soar into the air and carry intense water energy around its body. Kid is undoubtedly playing with fire. If he was really hit by the Gyarados, most of his life would be lost. However, there is always a subtle distance of less than 1 meter between the two, and he also enjoys this wonderful performance. Eminem. At this moment, Leixi suddenly discovered that Armu had already rushed to the pool where the underwater booth had been, because the water had not been drained yet, and Armu was not in the water below her chest at this time point, but on the surface of the water. It can be seen that Emu is posing in a posture similar to Yumi's, with his palm facing the Gyarados, and holding the keystone pendant that was originally placed there in his hand. Mega Evolution requires the Pokémon to carry the Mega Stone, and the trainer to carry the keystone, and the two must have a strong bond and unity of mind, so that they can resonate and stimulate their power. But now, Eminem wants to try. Can this thing be all skill and no emotion? Chapter 78 Ownership. Leixi's shout drew everyone's attention to Eminem's actions. The next moment, I saw the keystone in Eminem's hand, blooming with dazzling brilliance. At the same time, the leaping Gyarados, and Gyarados Wrath, not far away from the Gyarados, which was hugged by Kid, also burst into a strange light of blue and grey. In the gem statue, water blue and grey black are coiled together, like the core of the double helix of genes. At this time, it drives the Tyrannosaurus, and through the keystone in Eminem's hand, it resonates with Eminem. Armu really has no relationship with this Gyarados, but now, Eminem is using the ability of animal senses to forcibly establish a resonance with the Gyarados, arousing the power of the Mega Evolution Stone. The next moment, I saw a slight light shining on Emu's body, and the Gyarados exuded the light of evolution. All over his body. The outline became thicker, especially the upper half of the body became thicker and stronger, and there was an extra pair of huge fins like wings. After Mega Evolution, Gyarados lost its flying attribute and became water plus evil, but it became able to jump because of the jets on both sides of its body that could eject water and water energy. Take higher, even short flights. Kid accelerated dangerously and instantly, and then momentarily moved out when he was close to the skylight, and the bulletproof glass of the skylight was directly shattered under the impact of the Mega Gyarados. Fortunately, the skylight glass also blocked most of the power of the Mega Gyarados, which allowed Kid to spread his hang glider in time, and then flew into the sky to escape. In a burst of jets. Hey, this is too much. Kid complained in a bit of embarrassment. At the same time, I remembered the Flash figure just now, and I was also muttering in my heart, why could he evolve the Gyarados Mega? After Miss Minna's death, that Tyrannosaurus has never been subdued again. Some kind of special ability. Kid murmured to himself, that means you are too careless. Kid, who was gliding in the night sky, gradually solidified a phantom around him. That's right, it is Phantom. Kid's trump card, or partner, or even half guardian, is a Zoroark left by his father. Although the racial value is only 510, Zoroark's methods other than skills can be regarded as one of the non-mythical beast Pokémon that can compete for the strongest throne. Not only does it have a humanoid body and sharp claws, but it can cast numerous phantoms. Zoroark in the original theatrical version even planted enough to deceive cameras and monitoring equipment throughout the entire city center, creating a super large scale phantom that made people in the entire city have to evacuate. At the same time, if someone is monitoring Kid at this time, he can still see a rotating Rotom impressively installed under his hang glider. At the same time, a false Juncture quickly left in the Juncture on the roof of the museum. When he came to the hidden alley, the phantom on him also failed because it was too far away from Zoroark. It is a ice walking puppet, a Pokémon of the same origin as the Super Plus Fairy Magic Wall puppet in the Kanto area, but only in the Galar area. The Galar shaped magic wall doll can evolve again and become a ice walking doll. Kid's Pokémon may not be very powerful in absolute combat, but all kinds of methods other than skills are mastered superbly. Whether it is a magic wall doll or an ice walking doll, both can create a powerful magic wall barrier outside of skills, and the ice walking doll, like most ice type Pokémon, has certain restraints. Ice ability point in the pool the day before yesterday. The ice card was frozen in the air, and it was this ice walking doll, and today Kid didn't actually show up at first. What everyone saw in the pool at first was actually Kid's phantom, and this phantom blocked the Gyarados, so it didn't respond at first. It was Junsha who was present, and in a hurry threw an aquatic Pokémon into the pool. When the scene was chaotic, Kid really entered the pool under the cover of the phantom. As for the reason why it behaved easy, it is because the ice walking doll has been using a magic wall to keep the water out. It wasn't until the end, when using Mismina's phantom to confuse the Gyarados, that Kid really entered the water to get Gyarados Wrath. Originally, Kid was planning to verify whether Gyarados Wrath was the evolutionary stone he was looking for, and then quietly send it back to Mismina's house. However, Kid did not expect that someone could evolve the Gyarados Okamega. Kid was rubbing his waist while flying away with the cooperation of spinning Rotom, but just flashed solidly. On the other hand, in the Nabi Museum, because of the water, although the water level of the pool was greatly lowered after the water was poured out, the onlookers were also soaked to the calf, so Junsha took advantage of the situation to disperse the crowd. Kid has already left, and his fan base naturally did not stay much. And Eminem, who just triggered the miracle, has already fainted at this time. In fact, when Kid just flew away, Eminem had already fainted. When Kid turned his head to look, he found that the Gyarados had changed back to its original shape. Eminem's assumption is correct. Indeed, animal senses can stimulate mega evolutional skills. No emotions, but the price is the consumption of oneself, which will be much more intense than normal mega. Amu. Seeing this, Zylaksha immediately stepped forward and helped Amu up from the water to avoid choking. On the other side, the Gyarados Oka held the Gyarados Wrath and fell down. Seeing this, Dabu hurriedly tried to take it off, but the Gyarados opened its mouth and roared back. Just as his bodyguard released the big wolf dog, Yumi had already released the wind speed dog Stab and Haluga Hajin to stop them. Miss Junsha, I want to get mine back. Just as Big 5 spoke, Yumi interrupted. No, the Mega Stone that can resonate with Pokémon belongs to Pokémon itself. This is the 4th amendment to the ownership of Mega Evolution Stones. Wait. But this is already my Mega Stone, and it can't just happen to be because of another Pokémon. Your Mega Stone. Then how did you get it? Yumi pretended to be curious. Big 5 opened his mouth and found the bug. His ownership of Gyarados Wrath was based on getting the Mega Evolution Stones picked up by the other party during the Wild Gyarados shelter. But if you can already resonate with the Mega Stone, then this foothold no longer exists. This time, Tomoko came over and said, Mr. Big 5, I just asked my friends at Gringotts. You were still in Gringotts before, and you bought a huge amount of insurance for Gyarados Wrath, right? You don't belong to We Will Talk About Your Own Collection to deceive the Suzuki Group later. But I think you should be ready to be sued by Gringotts. Gurgling. Doro was speechless. He wanted to put all his eggs in one basket because there was a problem with the company's operation. He obtained Gyarados Wrath by improper means. Afterwards, he deliberately aroused the interest of Jirokich's consultant, not only charged the Suzuki Group's fee, but also bought a high-value insurance, thinking that it will make a lot of money. But if the valuables he bought for insurance were fictitious, those profiteers at Gringotts would never give up the chance to make a reverse claim. Chapter 79. A little short. HMM. When Amu woke up, she found that she was in a tidy ward. The slightly aching head reminded Eminem, how did he faint before? Fortunately, judging from the degree of hunger, Eminem guessed that he hadn't been in a coma for too long, and it should only be one night. Just at this moment, Zylaksha pushed the door open and came in, and seeing Eminem sitting up, she was surprised and said, Ah, you're awake. I'll call the doctor to show you again. The tone is not too urgent. After all, I checked before. Eminem is a typical exhaustion of energy among the trainers. It is actually quite common But usually it is common among more professional trainers. Ordinary novice trainers have no chance to overdraw because there is no participation at all, and they just move their mouths. Soon a doctor rushed over and took Amu to the examination room. Only then did Amu know that he was in Suzuki's hospital. A room full of incomprehensible instruments, an inspection that even Eminem couldn't understand. Ordinarily, Eminem himself is also a pharmacist, and he and the doctor can be regarded as relatives, but in this world, the two are still different in many ways. The biggest difference is that, although pharmacy is also advancing with the times, it still has a strong old flavor and serves Pokémon more. In terms of pharmacy, the means for people are already a bit outdated, while human medicine is more powerful. The sense of the future is just that it doesn't have much strength for Pokémon medical treatment. It's not as good as the special abilities of various trainers, and it's not as good as pharmacy. Like now, in the pharmacy qualification exam, the proportion of pharmaceuticals against people doesn't even reach 10%. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a common exhaustion. Fortunately, you are still young. As long as you pay attention to rest recently and don't stimulate mega evolution, you can heal yourself. The doctor said, looking at the unexplained waveform on the monitor. Is it really the reason for the evolution of mega? Zylaksha was slightly relieved and could only look at Eminem wonderingly. Well, young people usually have this kind of situation, which happens when the resonance mega evolves for too long. The doctor said calmly. Professional trainers generally have a higher end command method, which is equivalent to shallow mind to heart communication. Some older trainers may lose energy due to too long command time, but he's not long. Zylaksha emphasized. Slim Shady, it's really not long. It's less than a minute before and after, but the symptoms are the same. It can even be said that it is too short. Normally speaking, it is impossible for a young trainer to be this short. Even if the double mega evolution, it should not be so short. What? Less than a minute? The doctor was a little surprised after hearing Zylaksha's description. Slim Shady, before the Suzuki family sent Eminem here, they simply explained Eminem's condition to the doctor, but the doctor didn't go to see kid, and instinctively thought that Eminem had stimulated mega evolution for too long. After the doctor learned the actual situation, he carefully checked it with various instruments. There are no problems with all the indicators, and they are better than the average young people. Maybe it's just too nervous? The doctor comforted. Slim Shady, Eminem always felt that the examination and diagnosis were a bit subtle, so he interrupted. I said, could it be other reasons? After all, the mega evolution at that time was actually facilitated by my special ability. Huh? Special ability? The doctor was taken aback when he heard the words, and then added, that may be this too. In addition to the long evolution time of mega, some special abilities may also overdraw energy. Energy is not simply mental strength or physical strength, but a more comprehensive and deeper concept. Zylaksha found that the reason was not sure, so she asked anxiously, is there any other situation? I heard the evolution of bonds is more likely to cause similar situations, but there are very few cases of evolution of bonds, and there are almost no cases in the Kanto area. The doctor said uncertainly, it's good that it's not a big problem anyway. Eminem was already very satisfied with the diagnosis result. In short, there were no irreversible side effects. As for the reason, Eminem can probably guess. It's right to say that it's caused by special abilities, and it's okay to say that mega evolution took too long. Animal Sense is indeed very skillful in mega evolution, but the emotion replaced by skills are filled with Eminem's energy. If it was the Pokémon that Eminem himself tamed, even if the emotion was not enough to trigger the mega evolution, it would not consume so much. You're going to be discharged from the hospital now? The doctor said you can observe for another 2 days. Seeing that Amu was in a hurry, Zylaksha tried to persuade her. No, I'm also a pharmacist. It's just that, if the general energy is exhausted, I can take care of it myself. Amu didn't stay in the hospital for long. Then, wait for Yuanzi too. When I told her you're awake just now, she said she needed something for you and was rushing over. Zylaksha reminded. After hearing this, Eminem was not in a hurry. Soon Yuanzi rushed over, and to Eminem's relief, Zylan and Conan were not there. Yo. Congratulations, new star. Yuanzi said pointedly as soon as he entered the ward. Huh? What new star? Eminem was taken aback when he heard this. Your special ability actually has the effect of ignoring the bondage and directly making Pokémon Mega Evolve. My father said that you must be a rising star in the younger generation of the Quartz Alliance. Yuanzi said with some teasing. Said point at that time, many people at the scene guessed that Eminem had activated a special ability. Eminem rolled his eyes and said, there are more practical special abilities than this. Indeed, if you just look at Eminem's Beast Tamer ability, it's not that outstanding among the various special abilities in the Pokémon world. Forcibly launching Mega Evolution. It sounds powerful, but the consumption of energy is too serious. The practicality can only be questioned, and we can only say the future is promising. Sonoko didn't continue chasing Eminem to tease, but took out 2 boxes from the bag. This is Uncle Jiroyoshi and Mr. Hisashi. I asked me to hand it over to you, as a gift from you who stopped Kid before. That's too polite. I'm just trying, and even without me, Kid would probably sneak. Gyarados wrath. Back to Mr. Hisashi. Amu was a little embarrassed. Said, of course it's different. If Kid succeeds in stealing, Uncle Jiraji will definitely be very angry, and Mr. Kid sent him back secretly, so how can it be compared to going back in a legitimate way now? Sonoko said very understandingly, and then reminded one sentence, look at what it is first. Hearing this, Amu was not polite anymore, and opened the gift from Jiraji's advisor first, only to find that inside was a polished Mega Evolution stone with a green-purple spiral core. This is Amu had vaguely guessed. Sonoko also nodded and said, well, it's the Mega Evolution Stone of Myaraha. Uncle Jiraji found this out because he saw that you could stimulate Mega Evolution. Eminem didn't ask why Jiraji had the Mega Evolution Stone of Myaraha. For the Suzuki group, most of the known types of Mega Evolution Stones should be found in a short time. Opening Mr. Gius's gift again, Amu secretly said, sure enough, it's the Keystone pendant left by Lady Mina. The value of the Keystone is actually far inferior to the Mega Evolution Stone, but it is also very precious, and the symbolic meaning is actually stronger. The reason why Hisashi gave this to Mew was also because he saw that Mew used his mother's Keystone to stimulate the Mega Evolution of Gyarados again, so he thought it was his mother's guidance. Chapter 80 Yao's Hot Spring Hotel. Ah, I finally saw Yujian Mountain. Zyraksha looked at Yujian Mountain in the distance and couldn't help sighing. At this moment, Zyraksha and Amu, both riding an armored rhinoceros, were standing on a cliff, looking at Yujian Mountain, which was gradually rising in the forest not far away, stretching towards the southeast. Don't be too happy. We also saw Yujian Mountain 2 days ago. Amu said with white eyes. In the past few days, Eminem has to rest and recover more energy, so it is actually not suitable for rushing. However, in order to be able to reach Yujian Mountain before the 15th of this month, Eminem prepared a spirit rejuvenating potion for himself, and he needed enough sleep to cooperate. In fact, it was also a sleeping aid. In the past few days, Amu slept on the back of the ironclad rhino. Anyway, Arduin is a mature ironclad rhino, and he can follow Zyraksha on his own way. As a result, after a week, Eminem still hasn't made it to Yujian Mountain. Originally, 2 days ago, Amu's extra sleep had been greatly reduced, so I also helped Zyraksha point the way, and once saw the figure of Jianshan from another direction. But, after Amu took a nap, Zyraksha didn't know where she went. It's such a beautiful mountain. Zyraksha pretended not to hear Emu's words, and exclaimed at Jianshan in embarrassment. Indeed, for Zyraksha, the difficulty may be a bit high. After all, Yujian Mountain is surrounded by Viridian Forest in the 3 directions of southwest, east and west. Today, May 13th. Amu has finally recovered and does not need to sleep anymore, so he brought Zyraksha here smoothly. Afterwards, the two of them used the common travel method of travelers in this world, put away the armored rhinoceros, and then the suspension cable went down the cliff, and then released the armored rhinoceros to cross the last section of the forest. Did we go astray? Zyraksha looked up at the sun in the forest and then asked seriously. No, I deliberately moved to the west, and the concentrated camping area is over there. Eminem explained. Oh. Zyraksha was a little silent. In fact, She just felt that she was facing East Point finally. Before dark, the two arrived at the Eugene Mountain camping area, same as the previous Baylor Lake camping area. There were not many permanent buildings, and it was just a convention that everyone camped here. The permanent building is basically a simple Pokémon center, as well as some shops, restaurants. This kind of Pokémon center does not provide accommodation, but only provides services for healing Pokémon. Didn't you win the lottery? Shouldn't it be at the resort? Xyloxia asked suspiciously. If it is a resort area, it is in another direction outside Eugene Mountain, where there are more hot spring resources. No, I don't know what's going on. The address marked on it is on the side of the trainer's camping area. Eminem was also a little puzzled by this, but I didn't see any hotels. Yowzen Hot Spring Hotel. Yowzen Hot Spring Hotel. Xyloxia searched for the signs in the camping area. Let's go to the Pokémon Center first, and you can ask people there later, Eminem suggested. Afterwards, Eminem and Xyloxia first came to the Pokémon Center. Usually in this kind of Pokémon Center, it is easy to see Miss Joy, because there are not many staffs to cooperate, and they usually stick to their posts in the wild. It was all young Miss Joy. The two just need some daily care from Pokémon, especially Iron Rhino. Although there are rests every day. After all, it has been such a long journey. Ordinary daily care is just a matter of minutes for Joey. Soon Eminem's Pokeball was handed back. Your Pokémon are in good condition. By the way, may I ask, is the Yowzen Hot Spring Hotel near here? You found that when he said this name, the surrounding atmosphere seemed to change. Why are you asking this? You're not going to take risks, are you? The little red-haired trainer next to him looked at Mew and Xyloxia in surprise. Adventure? Is it closed? I won a lottery ticket from their house. Amu was also a little puzzled when he heard this. Hearing the words, the other party shook his head and said, let's forget it. Anyway, this is a camping area, so just camp casually. If you really want to rest comfortably, you can go to the resort area tomorrow. Is there any problem there? Eminem heard his tone, and the hotel didn't seem to be closed. The other party said in a deep voice, there is haunted. Xyloxia shuddered suddenly, then glared angrily at Mew, suspecting that he found such a place on purpose. Haunted? Eminem's eyes lit up. That's just right. I'm a trainer of the ghost department. When Mew heard that there was a ghost, he became interested. But I remember, there were ghost trainers who went there before, but they all returned empty-handed in the end. Miss Joy reminded in a low voice at this time, but she didn't say much. After all, she is a serious Miss Joy, so it's not easy to spread the word that there is a ghost, not to mention she doesn't know the specific situation. Afterwards, Eminem still asked about the specific location of Yowzen Hot Spring Hotel. It was not in the camping area, but it was not far away. On the contrary, it was far away from the resort, and it needed to go deeper into Eugene Mountain. Why don't you rest here first, and see you tomorrow morning? Mew knew that Xyloxia was afraid of ghosts, so she took the initiative to suggest. However, although Xyloxia is afraid of ghosts, she is not afraid to the extent that she can overcome her vanity. Feeling that Eminem is underestimating herself, she immediately said, why do you want to see me tomorrow morning? Isn't it a sweet? Just go. It's just me. I want to take a hot spring. Amu didn't think there would be any ghosts, so she and Xyloxia rushed in the direction pointed by the trainer at the Pokémon Center. It really is a secluded path. The destination is the back of the Yowzen Hotel, facing a not so high cliff. When I came to Yowzen Hot Spring Hotel, I saw that it was a lonely looking hotel located in the forest. It's very suitable for ghost type Pokémon to inhabit. Hehe. Xyloxia seemed to be convincing herself even if she saw anything later, it must be a ghost type Pokémon. Eminem entered the small and messy yard, knocked on the door, and the side-drawn wooden door creaked open. I saw an old lady with wrinkled face, small stature, who looked very gloomy, looking at Emu and Xyloxia at this time. Xyloxia gritted her teeth and didn't cry out. It's actually a guest. GGG. I'm really rude. Coming quickly. The old lady tried her best to put on a hospitable and enthusiastic appearance, but no matter how you look at it, it was counterproductive. Hello, boss. Can this be used? Eminem took out the coupons he had prepared a long time ago. TCH. Yes. The old lady suddenly became less enthusiastic but she kept a straight face, and Emu and Zylaksha got used to it more. Chapter 81 Customs. The upstairs is the guest room. Except for the first one, the others are empty. You can do whatever you want. Go out the side door, and walk along the corridor, to find the hot spring pool. The proprietress was on the counter, and after simply registering the invitation ticket, she turned her head said lift point the attitude is extremely perfunctory. There are customers like this. Zylaksha muttered point fortunately. At this moment, a long-haired woman wearing an unusually loose ancient dress came down, nodded to Emu and Zylaksha and said, "Two distinguished guests, please come with me." Only then did Eminem and Zylaksha follow, and the long-haired woman led them upstairs. Sure enough, the first room was lit at this time and it was a very classic candle lamp point including the long-haired woman holding a candle lamp. This store is really old enough. Even without electric Pokémon, high-efficiency solar energy was perfected more than 30 years ago. Opening the sliding door of the second room next door, the long-haired woman ushered the two in. It is said that it is a suite, but the layout is actually very simple. It is a large room with a wooden screen to separate the entrance. The room is covered with tatami mats. The sliding door inside opens to an open balcony, where you can see the mountain stream under the cliff. This height, for people in the Pokémon world, it is still safe. If the hands and feet are flexible and the luck is not too bad, they should not die from the fall. After this thought came to Amu's mind, he immediately shook his head. Conan isn't here again. Don't think about these. It's cold in the mountains, and the quilts are all freshly washed here, the long-haired woman said, opening the closet to introduce the only services and some precautions to Emu and Zylaksha, such as no smoking in the room. You must use a lampshade or something to light a candle. The hot spring pool is in the side yard. You can just walk along the corridor, but since there is only one hot spring pool, you can discuss it with the guests next door before you go. There is a single woman next door. My name is Yuho. If you have anything to do, you can call me at any time. I also live on this floor. Yuho said and was about to leave, but when she opened the door, she suddenly paused, and then added, by the way, there is one more important thing, out of custom. If you don't want to get the quilt, don't open the closet. If you want to get the quilt, knock on the closet first. Why? Zylaksha asked, trembling. It's nothing. It's just a custom. Don't worry about it. Yuho said something caring, and then left the room, and closed the door. Amu looked around, and then complained, really, apart from having a roof and tatami mats, it seems that there is nothing more than camping. Can this be considered a suite? Seeing Amu talking, she quickly opened the closet, then poked her face in, looking around for something, which shocked Zylaksha. What are you doing? Zylaksha became annoyed in fear. I'll see if I can find ghost type Pokémon. Eminem retracted his head, then shrugged. You don't move around. What if it's not a Pokémon, but a ghost? Zylaksha couldn't make out the second half of the sentence. After all, there are no ghosts in the world, only ghost type Pokémon. Although there are many people who are afraid of ghosts, Zylaksha is a little embarrassed to admit that Emu is not afraid at all. Amu found nothing, closed the closet with some disappointment, and then said to Zylaksha, aren't you looking forward to the hot spring? Go ask the person next door if you want to go with you. Well, I'll ask first. If she doesn't go, we can go in swimsuits, Zylaksha said a little timidly. After a while, Zylaksha came back and said, she seems to be doing some meditation. Let's not disturb, she said, and pulled the screen that separated the entrance to the middle of the room with a look of change your swimsuit quickly. Obviously Zylaksha didn't dare to go by herself, and she didn't dare to go with a strange woman. It was nothing to worry about usually, but the current environment made her have to think about it. At the same time, on the one hand, Zylaksha still wants to go to the hot springs. On the other hand, Zylaksha reckons that Eminem will definitely go, and it will be the same if she is left alone in the room. Wait, how do you know she's meditating? Amdo asked. I saw her shadow sitting cross-legged. Zylaksha explained. As for why he meditates, it is not surprising. Super energy department and the like, not to mention the nagging trainers. There are also some secret schools in other departments, and there are some weird training methods. After Amu and Zylaksha changed their swimsuits, Amu said, just go straight there, while rushing towards the closet, and quickly opened it, then poked his head in, to look left and right. A posture to catch the ghost when it is not paying attention. Unfortunately, I still haven't found anything wrong. Zylaksha. However, Eminem did not open the closet in vain, and took out 2 bathrobes from inside. The 2 of them went downstairs, and went out through the side door, and walked along the corridor to the hot spring. When passing by the next room, Amu also saw the shadow of the other party sitting cross-legged under the candlelight. Although Zylaksha said it was meditation, but it was just a general term, and it might be some other meditation practice point. Although only the outline can be seen, Amu faintly feels that this person's dress seems to be a bit old-fashioned. Amu and Zylaksha followed the corridor and finally came to an open-air hot spring pool, surrounded by baffles on 3 sides, with a huge rock next to it, and another side facing the cliff, just so you can soak in the hot spring, while overlooking the distance. It turns out that there really is a hot spring. Eminem side. Just now, Eminem was worried that when he came here, he would find that there was only one big bathtub, and the moon fire was heating hot water afterwards. I can finally take a good bath. Zylaksha took off her bathrobe. Of course, there is also a swimsuit inside, and it is a relatively conservative one-piece swimsuit. Compared with the usual crop top plus shorts, it is not sure which one will show more. On the one hand, Zylaksha's figure, there is a lot of room for growth. On the other hand, Zylaksha has professional needs for swimsuits. Eminem is ordinary boxer trunks. Just when the 2 of them sat down along the hot spring, Amu suddenly found something on the surface of the water. Although the moonlight was dim tonight, Amu's night vision ability is not a joke. What's that? Eminem looked at the water surface suspiciously, as if there was some stick-shaped object floating on the water surface. What? Don't scare me. Zylaksha hasn't seen it yet. Amu said that he was about to walk over while the hot spring was flowing, but at this moment, at the surface of the water that Amu noticed, a violent splash suddenly exploded, obviously deliberately aroused, and at the same time a few cold lights shot towards Amu. Amu hurriedly leaned back to dodge, but he still noticed from the corner of his eyes that in the splash of water, a vigorous and white body flashed past, and quickly swept towards the rock beside the hot spring. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82, Announcement. It will be released at noon tomorrow. 10 chapters will be updated in a row, and it will be updated 3 times a day from the day after tomorrow. If there is no accident, it will still be at the current time. Chapter 83. It's unbelievable. Someone would come to the hot spring directly. Won't you go and see if there is anyone in my room? At this time, a girl in black and purple hair had already put on her clothes, and said with a flushed face. Listening to what she said, she seemed to be very righteous, but seeing the blush on her face, Amu undoubtedly proved her guilty conscience. It's unbelievable, right? Why would someone hide their whole body in the hot spring when they were soaking in the hot spring? After being discovered, they still threw hidden weapons? This is an assassin, right? Amu immediately retorted, not to be outdone. Although Eminem also noticed that when the other party threw the hidden weapon, they didn't aim at her, but the throwing method was like a human body stroke, probably because she wanted to be in a hurry, so that she could rush behind the rock to change clothes. But still very dangerous. Okay, it's not an assassin, it's a ninja. The purple-haired girl corrected confidently. Slim Shady. Is this the point? Eminem's head was about to jump out. It's not a hidden weapon, it's a shuriken. The purple-haired girl continued to correct, and then explained after a pause, and I dived into the water to practice the reed breathing technique, not to hide from you. At this moment, Zylaksha couldn't help asking, so, you came alone? We saw it in your room just now. That's the substitute I set up, because I was practicing the substitute technique. The purple-haired girl blushed even more when she heard that, but her mouth remained stubborn. Zylaksha breathed a sigh of relief when she heard the words, as long as it wasn't something unclean. So, it's your own fault at all. Eminem immediately accused. Can't you knock on the door? The purple-haired girl continued to speak stiffly. But she really didn't expect that there were other guests, and her clothes were placed on the other side of the rock, and Emu and Zylaksha didn't see them when they came in. At this time, Emu also looked at Zylaksha wonderingly. Originally, Emu thought that Zylaksha would knock on the door when she was looking for someone for the first time. Zylaksha was already whistling and looking aside. Well, at that time, she wished that the people next door would ignore her so that she could justifiably ask Eminem to come with her, and of course she wouldn't knock on the door. Okay, I also made a little mistake. I'm sorry. The purple-haired girl couldn't help admitting it, and she was a doucheezer. No, you don't have to be so polite. Emu had long thought this guy was weird. It looks very old-fashioned. A pair of black clothes like a ninja, and a red scarf. Really looks like a ninja. But Eminem still said, fortunately, it's me. I have night vision. Swish. In an instant, the purple-haired girl jumped up from the earth seat position and onto the rock beside her, half kneeling, holding the short knife at her waist with one hand, as if she was about to draw the knife and slash. Otherwise, your darts may hurt me. After Eminem finished speaking the last half of the sentence, the other party released his hand from the dagger with a sigh of relief. At the same time, the purple-haired girl emphasized again, that's not a dart, it's a shuriken. Could it be that you are the trainer of the Light Red City Gym? Zylaksha suddenly realized. Light Red City Gym? Eminem was taken aback when he heard this. Emu has been to Light Red City several times, and every time before, she went to Light Red City for verification, but because she was not a trainer at the time, she didn't go to Light Red City Gym. Now that I think about it, it seems that in the Light Red City, I can occasionally see some guys dressed as very ninja. That's right. I'm the trainer of the 7-star gym in Light Red City. A crossing. The purple-haired girl, no, a crossing, said very proudly. So, that's how it is. Eminem showed a hint of bewilderment and then looked at the purple-haired girl's left waist. But the next moment, the other party disappeared from Emu's sight and jumped onto the rock again, looking like he was about to draw his sword again. Well, on our crossing's waist, there is a birthmark that looks like crossing a crossing. You are a crossing. Zylaksha interrupted. A crossing's killing intent at this moment. Our crossing looked at Zylaksha in wonder and then gradually revealed the color of memory. It did look familiar. I'm Zylaksha. We met 4 years ago in the pavilion owner competition. Zylaksha said hastily. Zylaksha is only 16 years old and our crossing is only 17 years old. 4 years. For a girl of this age, the change is enormous. No wonder Zylaksha didn't recognize her immediately. The Hall Master Contest. Eminem also showed a thoughtful look when he heard the words originally. Our crossing's name was indeed familiar to Emu, but just instinctively thought of some other unimportant things. After all, it's not my fault that he has strong night vision ability. Now that Zylaksha mentioned the governor contest, Emu immediately thought of it. A crossing in the game is the daughter of the owner of the Light Red Gym, a Jew, and will inherit the owner of the Light Red Gym in the future position. Another second generation of museum. It is not surprising that Zylaksha will know her. However, the Hulan Gymnasium is located in Hulan City in the northeast of the Kanto region, while the Light Red Gymnasium is in the southernmost big city, Light Red City. Zylaksha, you're already out on a trip? Seeing that she was an acquaintance, our crossing jumped off again tentatively, and her tone became a little more enthusiastic. Yes, you are still practicing in order to inherit the gymnasium, right? This is the beginning of travel? Zylaksha replied with a little guilt. After all, she ran away from home, so when she said this, she was a little out of touch with him. Hearing Zylaksha's question, our crossing said with a wondering gaze, of course. By the way, I will also try to cultivate while traveling. Hehe, slim. Shady. Gym trainers are considered to be between the academic school and the traveling school. Most of them will practice in the gym for a period of time before starting to travel. Our crossing's strength is obviously much stronger than Zyarksha's. After all, she is 1 year older, and she also said in her self-introduction just now, the trainer of the 7-star gym, that is to say, when she was in the light red gym, she could challenge us for the 7th badge. By the way, you are also going to Eugene Mountain, right? Why do you live here? Zyarksha asked suspiciously. I was in the shopping mall before, and I won the invitation ticket. I didn't expect it to be like this here. A crossing wanted to say it was simple, but she didn't say it. Then, you are going to enter Eugene Mountain tomorrow? What Pokémon is the target? We can go together. Zyarksha initiated the invitation. No, I want to do some ninja training, and I need to act alone, so I won't be with you. A crossing said quickly. Thinking about a crossing's life experience and position in the comic version, Mew became thoughtful. Chapter 84, Night of Horror at the Hotel. At night, the hot spring hotel has turned off the lights in the end. Zyarksha chose her own sleeping bag instead of the apparently more comfortable bedding, and arranged Eminem in a half room near the closet point. But at night Zyarksha was still woken up by the cold. Even though he was in the wild before, he never woke up from the cold. It's really cold at night in the mountains. Zyarksha comforted herself, and at the same time couldn't help but glance in the direction of the screen point at this time. The screen was placed in the middle of the room, and on the other side was the sleeping Eminem, and the closet. No, it's not that cold. Zyarksha denied in her heart the idea of wanting to take the quilt just now. But after shaking her head like this, Zyarksha realized that the zipper of the sleeping bag was stretched open. No wonder it was cold. As a result, Zyarksha couldn't help it, and finally got up, and went around to the other side of the screen. Use M sleeping bag. Zyarksha tiptoed around the screen point anyway. Eminem is using the bedding from the hotel, but it turned out that Mew's luggage was missing, so Zyarksha had no choice but to shake Mew and said, "Hey, lend me your sleeping bag." Eminem replied in a daze. In the closet, Zyarksha. When did you love tidiness so much? Still put the travel bag in the closet. Then, you helped me hold it. Hey, hello. Zyarksha wanted to wake up Mew, but I don't know why. Today's Eminem seems to be sleeping extraordinarily deeply. Zyarksha didn't doubt anything, but thought that Mew had just exhausted her energy before, thinking that he hadn't rested properly, and felt embarrassed, so she didn't continue to wake Mew up. Instead, he took a few deep breaths, and after mental preparation, he came to the closet. Thump thump. Zyarksha knocked honestly. Boom boom boom. Boom boom. Worried that I didn't hear the something inside, I knocked a few more times. Zyarksha hesitated several times, raised her hand, and put it down again, and finally chose to give up. Or should she use a broken sleeping bag to deal with it? However, at this moment, the closet suddenly creaked. I opened it myself. Zyarksha's body froze immediately, and she saw a human head roll to the open position. Guessed. Didn't you tell me? Can you just call me if you need anything? Although he was pale and his hair covered half of his face, he could vaguely see that it was Yoo-Ho. After a brief silence, Zyarksha's scream pierced the entire hotel. This time Eminem was also woken up, but he was a little dizzy for some reason. And the next moment, there was only a sound of breaking the door. Evil thief, die. At this moment, a crossing rushed in and made a jump. Fortunately, Mew rolled quickly and just fell on the quilt. Mew was completely refreshed now, and said angrily, "What are you doing? You are doing to Zyarksha?" Our crossing found that something was wrong. Originally, when she heard Zyarksha screaming at night, and with her first impression, our crossing thought it was Eminem who was doing something wrong. But now look. Zyarksha is some distance away from Eminem, and she is squatting with her head in her hands, and another hand tremblingly pointing to the closet. At this time, Mew also followed her gaze to look at Zyarksha, and when she saw this, she didn't bother to question our crossing, but asked, "What's wrong?" "Yes, there is a head." Zyarksha still closed her eyes tightly. "What do you have a head for?" Ammon wondered. Zyarksha got annoyed in fear, and grabbed Demu's collar and said, "Have a head. A head. A head. It's that moonfire. It's all because you slept so deeply that you couldn't wake up even shaking." At This time, our crossing also knew that she had misunderstood. When Armu turned her head, she found that she was already sitting there squarely. Slim Shady. This spirit of daring to admit mistakes and never change is worthy of being a ninja. There's no head. Look, the closets are closed. You must be too nervous. Eminem said the lines of the ignorant character in the Ghost movie and rushed to the closet, quickly opened it, and poked his head in with smooth movements. Unfortunately, the plan of while the ghost is not paying attention failed again, and Eminem found nothing. It's gone. Eminem said regretfully. Then Armu suddenly thought of something, tidied up her travel bag, and after knowing that Zylaksha's sleeping bag was broken, she took out another quilt. What? You still want to live here? Zylaksha said incredulously. Don't worry, I don't want to appear in front of my ghost type trainer. It must be an naughty ghost type Pokémon. Eminem comforted. Ah, you are ghost trainer? Our crossing looked at Armu in surprise when she heard this. You can say that. Eminem agreed. A crossing hesitated for a moment, but still didn't say anything. At the same time, with the sound of hobbled footsteps, the old lady's duo, the boss, finally came over with a lamp, opened the door and asked, "What's wrong with you?" Before Zylaksha could question the other party, the old lady looked at the tatami that had just been smashed by a crossing and said angrily, "Ah, the tatami of my century-old shop. Why are you three here? The room? No matter what the three of you are doing, you shouldn't destroy the property of the hotel, right? You know the tatami mat? No. The 100-year-old tatami mats have long since rotted." Armu broke through her blackmail and then countered, "And what happened to your hotel? My friend saw it in the closet just now. That Yuho's head. Where is she?" "Yuho? What Yuho? Do you think this store can afford to hire a waiter? I'm busy all by myself," the old lady said as a matter of course. "But she was the one who took us upstairs," Zylaksha said hastily. "Huh. I asked you to come up by yourself. I'm still thinking about what you are talking to yourself," the old lady said in a calm statement tone. But Eminem gave her a strange look at this moment. When Zylaksha looked at a crossing, the latter also said, "I saw that Yuho before, and she brought me to this room." "Really? Don't live if you don't want to live, but I will pay for this tatami." The old lady was anxious first. "Sorry, it's mine," a crossing said to the old lady honestly. HMPH, that's about the same. After hearing that the compensation was paid, the old lady didn't hold back. Our crossing followed the old lady to talk about compensation, while Armu looked at the time and said to Zylaksha, "It's still early, sleep for another 3 hours, and we will go into the mountains after dawn, so we must rest enough. Go to the bathroom first. There is not even a toilet in the room." It's a pity that Zylaksha obviously couldn't rest any longer, so she released Coda Duck to hug her and didn't pull up the screen. Not to mention king, carp and horned goldfish. But as for gem starfish, it is also not good to stay in an anhydrous environment for a long time. There is only Coda Duck, although it looks dull, with its eyes covering its head blankly, but it is fluffy anyway. And it feels more secure to hold it. Armu, on the other hand, fell asleep heartlessly after coming back from the relief. Chapter 85. When Amu wakes up in a daze, she finds that Zylaksha is sitting against the wall, covered with a quilt, and has fallen asleep holding a kodak. At this time, the morning sun had already entered the room. Amu yawned, then got up gently, and did not disturb Zylaksha, but prepared to fetch her own toiletries. I saw Eminem still bleary-eyed, walking to the closet. Of course, I didn't mean to knock first. But at this time, I was also not prepared to take advantage of the ghost's inattention, and just opened the door of the closet in a normal way. Gilulua head rolled over, and said to Eminem face to face, "Guest, what do you need?" Just as Moonfire was opening her head in a dark voice, an elf ball fell from the baffle above the closet and hit her. No, it hit her forehead. The next moment, Yuho's voice stopped abruptly, and the entire head was taken in by the elf ball. It was exactly the little mechanism that Armu set up here 3 hours ago, after she was woken up by Zylaksha. Although it was only for a moment, the elf ball immediately exploded with sparks, and a ghost stone popped out. But Eminem was completely awake now. As soon as ghost stone came out, he saw Eminem staring at him with twinkling eyes. His non-existent scalp couldn't help but tense, and Dang even wanted to turn his head and leave through the wall point. But just at this moment, Eminem had already reacted, and saw the beady-eyed coffin of death emerging from Eminem's back. Ghost Stone's figure disappeared into the wall behind the closet, but immediately the four shadow hands of Death's coffin also stretched in. The next moment, I saw the Ghost Stone with basically only one face being pulled back bit by bit point, but then the two sides saw each other, and Ghost Stone's hands, which seemed to be independent of his body, kept pawing at the wall point. It can also be judged from this, that the strength of the two sides seems to be about the same. Ghost Stone was also speechless. He originally wanted to take advantage of this guy's incomplete consciousness to see if he could scare him, so that he would not be so arrogant, but who knew, there were still traps. At the same time, because of the sound she made, Zyarksha also woke up leisurely at this time, first saw the death coffin, and the coconut egg tree. She was startled, and at the same time asked, what's wrong? It's nothing. I finally found this funny guy in the hotel. Eminem said happily. After all, Ghost Stone, or the Ghost family note 1, is considered very strong and practical in the ghost type Pokémon. It's not the funny ghost. Eat me, the Shadow Ball. Seeing that he couldn't get away, Ghost Stone was simply pulled out, and then threw the Shadow Ball, formed by the energy of the ghost system, into the death coffin point. But when it came out, it discovered that there was a coconut tree outside. Eminem didn't talk about martial arts either, and went straight to 2vs1, while the death coffin blocked her Shadow Ball. I saw the coconut tree shaking its head and stomping its feet, and the surrounding space was distorted under the energy of the super energy system. Trick space, activate. Hey, do you still want my approval like this, Ghost? Ghost Stone said angrily. With 2 against 1, it is generally not recognized by wild Pokémon. Eminem pretended not to hear its telepathy. Among the Pokémon that can do telepathy, the psychic type is the most, followed by the ghost type. Eminem is not worried about recognition and other issues. Ghost Stone, or Gui family, undoubtedly belong to the kind of Pokémon that is very human, so human that it almost uses human logic is thinking. It can be subdued by other methods, but the efficiency of subdue by force will not be very high, which is the opposite of those more reckless Pokémon. This means that it was not sure whether there would be a ghost type Pokémon caught. Otherwise Eminem would have to take drugs in advance. Coconut Egg Tree is actually far from being the opponent of this Ghost Stone, and even Death's Coffin has no advantage against it. Don't look at the Death Coffin transformed by Ditto, which has the race value more than 70 points higher than that of Ghost Stone. But if these two Pokémon fight, physical attack and physical defense are basically invalid race values, not counting these two. Or, if you only compare the other 4 items, Ghost Stone is slightly higher, but now that Trick Space is activated, Ghost Stone has no advantage in speed, and is immediately crushed by Death's Coffin. But at this moment, there was only the sound of urgent footsteps staggering, and before Zyarksha could stop her, the old lady owner of the hotel opened the door and asked, "What are you arguing about?" The next moment, the old lady seemed to be taken aback, dropped her cane, and exclaimed, there is a ghost. Don't be afraid, old lady, it's just ghost type." After Zyarksha found out that it was Ghost Stone, she was not so afraid. But at this moment, Ghost Stone seized the opportunity, taking advantage of the old lady's frightened, like a gaseous body. He rushed over in an instant. His 2 palms were emitting purple smoke, while wrapping around the old lady's body, as if he was kidnapping her. "Don't come over to Ghost." Ghost Stone immediately stopped Eminem with telepathy. Why do you? Zyarksha glared angrily at Ghost Stone, who was kidnapping the hostage's Death's Coffin. No, it should be said that Ditto did stop at this moment, as if worried that it would use the old lady as a shield point. But Amu said directly at this time, "Don't pay attention to the coffin. The innkeeper is in the same group as it." Hearing the words "coffin coffin" believed it straightforwardly, and began to condense. Shadow Ball. Stop, stop, stop. What are you doing? Are you making sense, Ghost? Ghost Stone immediately begged for mercy. "I don't know any Ghost Stone. The old lady still didn't give up. Eminem curled her lips and said, "Last night, I felt that something was wrong with you. Generally speaking, when we tell you that we saw the head of a strange woman, the first thing that comes to mind should not be to explain except you. There are no other guests. Why did you first think of explaining there are no other waiters? None of us told you that Yuho belongs to the waiters, right?" At this time, Zyloksha was a little worried and looked at the side room on guard. "There won't be any other ghost type Pokémon here, right? Did you still hurt a crossing?" Indeed, with such a big commotion, our crossing never came over. Oh shit, ghost. Ghost Stone couldn't help being startled when he heard this, and immediately went to a crossing's room through the wall. The diversified monster in Death's coffin immediately followed through the wall, while Armu and Zyloksha ran through the corridor, and when they opened the door, they found, in the room, apart from Ghost Stone and Death's coffin, there is only a crossing's bedding, made to look like someone is sleeping. Apparently she was practicing substitution again. She didn't pay for the tatami last night. Armu asked the old lady who was walking slowly. Zyloksha rolled his eyes at him. She believed that it was not because of this that our crossing left without saying goodbye. Ghost Stone also said angrily at this time, "It's all your fault. That guy with ulterior motives left. Ghost with ulterior motives?" Zyloksha looked at Ghost Stone suspiciously. Ghost Stone beat his chest and stamped his feet, although he has neither chest nor feet. But it's the atmosphere anyway. It seems that its original purpose was to stare at a crossing. Note 1. 20th family refers to 20th Pokémon and all its evolutionary and degenerated forms, such as Genghost family, which refers to the collective name of ghosts, Ghost Stone, and Genghosts. It is not true family. Chapter 86 Ghost Stone. With ulterior motives? You are the ones with ulterior motives, right? Where's our crossing? Zyloksha couldn't help questioning after hearing Ghost Stone's words at the same time. Zyloksha released all the jeweled starfish and Kodaduck. "You hateful human beings, there must be ghosts." Ghost Stone also confidently said. At this time, Eminem interrupted Ghost Stone and Zyloksha's chicken and duck conversation and asked directly, "What did you find? Is there something wrong with Miss A crossing? HMPH. She's going to enter the Moon Mountain." Ghost Stone lost his momentum as he spoke. "What's wrong with entering Eugian Mountain? I want to enter Eugian Mountain too," Zyloksha said immediately. This is different from Ghost." Ghost Stone was very frantic. "Okay, calm down first, Ghost Stone." Eminem wanted to use animal senses to appease Ghost Stone. Beast Tamer's initial favorability bonus has little effect on Pokémon with human nature like Ghost Stone. The more naive and instinctive Pokémon, the more effective it is. Good point. Especially this Ghost Stone, which is particularly humanistic, has a kind of old-fashioned feeling. Eugianshan. Is there something going on now? Armu recalled. Now that Mr. Jumu also specially emphasized the middle of May at that time, and there should be a reason for it. Originally, Eminem didn't think much about it. He just thought it was about the reproductive cycle of wild Pokémon in Eugianshan. However, our crossing's arrival made Armu care. Our crossing's father, Arju, the owner of the Light Red City Gymnasium, is nothing in games and animations. But, in the comics, that is, the special chapter, Arjuchu is one of the 3 top cadres of the Rockets. Even our crossing is a member of the Rockets in the special chapter, so her purpose here is worth noting. Of course, Armu is not sure whether Arju and our crossing are related to the Rockets in this world. You don't know about Gissy? TSK. On the night of the full moon in May, the idiot Pippi and the idiot Ghost Stone in Eugian Mountain will collectively evolve Gissy. Ghost Stone said disdainfully. Collective evolution? Wait, if Pippi wants to evolve, he needs the Moonstone, right? If Ghost Stone wants to evolve, Eminem said with some doubts, for Ghost Stone to evolve into Jenga, the process is even more complicated. Judging from the experience summed up by the trainers, it is necessary to let Ghost Stone hide in his shadow more often. Let the Ghost Stone interact with the life energy at all times, and eventually there will be a chance to condense into a solid body and evolve into a Jenga. The Ghost and Ghost Stone of the Jenga family have almost no weight, and the Jenga who has evolved into the final form will have a physical body with an average weight of about 40 kilograms. Not only does the trainer need to have a very strong vitality, but also the bond between the two parties must be high enough, otherwise the trainer will become weak and sick within a few days, unable to hold on at all. As for Gen ghosts that evolved in the wild, they are very rare, and how to evolve in the wild has not yet been determined. In fact, wild ghosts in most areas don't know how to evolve at all. The ghost stone in front of him seemed to know something, but he didn't intend to explain it. Stupid. Ghost stone. Zyraksha looked at the ghost stone, scolding her suspiciously. Ghost stone, who was silent at first, immediately annoyed. I'm talking about other ghost stones, not this ghost. So, in Eugean Mountain, besides Pippi, are there many ghost stones? What happened to the other ghost stones in Pippi? You asked suspiciously. Ghost stone glanced at him, and then a floating ghost hand beckoned to him, as if beckoning him to approach. Although he failed to communicate with ghost stone through animal senses, at least Eminem could feel that it was not malicious, so he approached it under Zyraksha's worried and dissatisfied eyes. I saw ghost stone's head approaching Eminem's ear bleakly, and whispered, "None of your business. Ghost, slim. Shady, GG, seeing Eminem's speechless expression, Ghost Stone smiled happily. Coffin, prepare, Shadow Ball, wait a minute. Ghost Stone is actually a good boy." The innkeeper suddenly shouted at this moment. Eminem stared at the old lady, then shook the elf ball in his hand. "Hey, this old man is not a ghost type Pokémon. Brat, don't be too rude." The old lady shouted immediately when she saw this. "Why would I think so? Ha 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 ha." Eminem turned his head sideways. Eminem did doubt it just now. "So, your place is a black shop that seeks wealth and murder?" Zyraksha said immediately. "Little girl, don't talk nonsense. Our hotel has been in business for 100 years, and no one has died." The old lady said confidently. Slim Shady, no one has died. Isn't this kind of requirement too low? Nothing to brag about unless you host Conan all year round, right?" At this time, the old lady supported her waist and said in a slow voice, "When I was young, I lived with my grandparents who opened the shop at the foot of Eugean Mountain. At this time, the real Yuho, the granddaughter of the old lady, also came out and stuck out her tongue at Emu and Zyraksha with some playfulness in apology. That's right. The moonfire I saw before is indeed a person. Ghost Stone's illusion is not an illusion, but more like the brain that confuses the target. Usually, the whole person cannot be imagined, only the head appears when it is illusioned." Huh. Is it really 100 years? Eminem always thought it was the old lady talking nonsense. After being glared at by the old lady, you finally stopped talking and listened to her continue. Indeed, this hot spring hotel has a history of 100 years. At the beginning, there were not so many people who came to Eugean Mountain. 100 years ago, Nabi City was still a small town, and the surrounding fossil pits had not yet been excavated. It's a lot more south now. Yaosan Hot Spring Hotel was at the foot of Eugean Mountain at that time, one of the few places to rest and replenish, and it has been very close to Pippi and Gissy of Eugean Mountain for generations. There will be ghosts, ghost stones, and even Jengas hiding in the hotel to scare away the evil Pokémon hunters. But later, with the expansion of human settlements, especially after the rise of Nabi City, Eugean Mountain became more and more crowded. Especially more than 30 years ago, a mine of precious ore was discovered in Eugean Mountain. Here formed a mining area. In this way, it affected the Pikexi family and Genji family in the mountains. In the beginning, they used a more prank method to drive away the miners, but later, the miners even fell off the cliff. Although no one was killed, there were also serious injuries and disability incidents. After the Junsha clan came to investigate, the mining area was permanently closed, and the interior of Eugean Mountain was set up as a protected area. This was also known to the outside world, and as an old resident here, Boss USEN certainly knew the inside story at that time. It was the ghost stone in front of him that caused the vicious incident, but it also wanted to keep the settlement from being disturbed, so it was not convinced by the accusations of other clansmen at the time, and left Eugeanshan in a fit of anger because of the news that the hotel is haunted. Gradually there are no people living here. and naturally there are no other ghosts or ghost stones hiding here to scare people. But a few days ago, this ghost stone seemed to have heard something and returned to Yao's Hot Spring Hotel, hoping that the proprietress of the hotel could help it. Chapter 87 Reason. So, what did you know? Eminem looked at Ghost Stone curiously. I saw the other party beckoning, signaling Eminem to approach. Slim Shady, Coffin, prepare, Shadow Ball. Eminem said directly. You guessed that it was this Ghost Stone who came back after learning that someone was going to harm you. Giantian outside. Seeing that Death's Coffin began rubbing Shadow Ball, Ghost Stone immediately shouted, sure enough, you are also in the same group. You will only bully honest Pokémon ghosts like me. I don't know where he learned his self-proclaimed name. Then, I can't help it. You must have smoked me yesterday, otherwise I wouldn't have slept so deeply and felt so uncomfortable today. Eminem said naturally. The bodies of ghosts and ghosts are made of mixture of ghost power and gas. Seeing that you didn't intend to stop, Ghost Stone had no choice but to confess cowardly and complained. I have seen before that human named A Crossing is going to attack the moon of Eugene Mountain when the full moon is full. Stone ghosts, Slim Shady, Moonstone, just for this? Eminem said awkwardly. Although the value of Moonstone is not low, it really doesn't need to be so grand. It's not the Moonstone, you said. It's the Moonstone on the mountain. I'm so pissed off. Human beings are really troublesome ghosts. Ghost Stone himself was very mad. How about let's change the way of communication? Eminem realized that this is a problem of human language. This Ghost Stone may be because it has been in human society for too long and its human language has reached the 8th level, but it still cannot express itself accurately in human language in many cases. As Eminem said, he stretched out his hand and exuded the fluctuation of animal sense. Sure enough, Ghost Stone immediately understood what Eminem meant. Although his face was full of disdain, he still said, really, human language is really an obstacle to communication. At the same time, the scene that Ghost Stone wanted to express emerged in Eminem's mind. In a valley, a huge spherical boulder was placed in the center, and when the boulder shone like a bright moon, Pippi and ghosts with idiot faces were viciously vilified into idiot faces pass out and start dancing around the boulder. However, at this moment, a super ferocious ninja jumped out, took a sack, grabbed those Pippus and Ghost Stones, and stuffed them into the sack one by one. He left with a satisfied smile on his face. Of course, this is just the expression of Ghost Stone. In fact, it is obviously not something that humans can do, but the meaning is that you already understands. That is to say, it should be during the full moon in mid-May that a crossing is going to attack Pippi and Ghost Stone here and take away the huge rock. You sure the person you want to talk about is A Crossing? Why is the hair color and hairstyle not quite right? You muttered in doubt. In the impression that Ghost Stone wanted to express, the ninja couldn't see his face at all, and his expression was also an expression of temperament. As for the physical characteristics, just look at it. It's just a symbolic meaning. After all, this is not reading the other party's memory, but just understanding the other party's meaning. But you can see that the clothes are indeed very similar to A Crossing's. But, the hair is green, and the hairstyle looks like a hedgehog, which is somewhat different from A Crossing's messy ponytail. I didn't expect that she found me following me halfway, and when I found her again, she had already dyed her hair. GGG, but did she think she could fool me by doing this? Ghost Stone said very proudly. Wait, are you sure it's not this person? You said, and released a promotional photo of Arju, the owner of the gym in Light Red City, on the illustrated book. The same ninja outfit as A Crossing, and Arju's hair color is completely different from his daughter's. It's emerald green, or a hedgehog. That's right. Well, this is what she looked like before she dyed her hair. Ghost Stone said with certainty, after looking at it. Slim Shady, the two of us, not counting the hair, not counting the glasses. Can you see the difference? You approached Zyarksha and then moved her face to Zyarksha's, and Zyarksha also tacitly moved her face closer when she saw this come over. It seems, yes, Ghost Ghost Stone felt quite subtle. Amu suddenly discovered that this guy's face blindness was worse than his own. After noticing the look in Amu's eyes, Ghost Stone immediately said, "But the proprietress and you ho, I can tell the difference." It seemed that it was the fault of Amu and Zylaksha, who looked too much alike. Before Eminem could say anything more, Ghost Stone said dissatisfiedly, "Can you separate yourself from a group of idiot?" Ghost Stone. Ghost, it makes sense. It is also quite difficult for human beings to distinguish individuals of the same kind of Pokémon. Unless they are very familiar and tacit companions with themselves, they usually find fault from subtle differences such as body size and fur gloss. So, who is it? Zylaksha was still puzzled at this moment, grabbed Eminem's wrist, and glanced at the illustrated book. "Master, Arju, will it be detrimental to the Pokémon group in Eugene Mountain?" No, you must have made a mistake." Zylaksha immediately shook her head and said, in Zylaksha's impression, the owner of Aju, just like her father, is a powerful and reliable owner. Well, although Zylaksha and her father were very unhappy because of personal development, but to be fair, Zylaksha still puts her father's reliability first in her heart. Sure enough, you stupid human beings will never believe, Ghost. Ghost Stone's catchphrase seems to be used as a swear word. "So, how did you find out that the owner of Aju is going to attack your compatriots?" Amu seemed to have believed it. "What? Compatriots? A bunch of idiots are just ghosts." Ghost Stone immediately corrected, but after that, Ghost Stone explained that it was in an abandoned building, pretending to be a ghost and scaring people and replenishing energy, and happened to hear a group of bad guys discussing that they wanted to come to Eugene Mountain for secret operations and take away the moon of the moonstone thing. At this time, Amu also understood that the moonstone here refers to a certain place in Eugene Mountain, a huge stone that can provide all the Pokémon around it in May every year when the moon is at its fullest. Some kind of mysterious boulder with the effect of moonstone, because those bad guys had many powerful Pokémon accomplices at that time. Ghost Stone didn't dare to come out, but when he followed up afterwards, he discovered the identity of one of them, that is, Arju. How is it possible? There must be a mistake. Zylaksha still didn't quite believe it. In fact, if it were a cute and pure Pokémon, Zylaksha might believe it a little more. Whether it's true or not, we can follow up and see. Eminem said impartially. Because of the suspicion of the higher level officials of the Rockets, Eminem actually believed this, but he was also very puzzled. According to Mr. Jumu, shouldn't the Rockets be very honest now? In this regard, Eminem is still very brave. Although Eminem's travel training time is not long, and the level of Pokémon is generally not high, but in actual combat, especially in prepared actual combat, the pharmacist is very good at Pokémon. Only with the help of dreams can it be brought into play, but it was with the wrong person at all. Our crossing is not with the owner of Aju at all. What's more, we don't even know where our crossing is now. Zylaksha said that when Ghost Stone admitted the wrong person, the latter also looked unbelievable. No, it shouldn't be a coincidence that our crossing appeared here, and I know where she is, Amu said, pressing on her glasses. Chapter 88 Cautious. You are. Zylaksha looked at Eminem in surprise. After pressing the glasses, something that looked like a radar map appeared on it. This is Conan. Ahem. I asked Conan to help me contact Dr. Ali, and then I ordered it from him. As Shinichi's important partner, Amu needed glasses and some trackers. Divide. The technical content of this thing is still very high. In the world of Pokémon, some Pokémon will be recognized by some Pokémon due to the fluctuation of the wireless signal, which will trigger changes in wild Pokémon. Therefore, it is only unimpeded in the city, and the outdoor signal is very limited. The illustrated book can only be used on a single machine. Function. As for satellite signals, they can only be received in cities, and it is forbidden to set up signal stations in the wild, or even in some villages and towns. Even in this world, it is troublesome to launch a satellite, regardless of the more advanced technology, but in this world, the launch of artificial satellites requires the approval of Li Kangze. If you launch it casually, you will be sanctioned by the Dragon of the Sky on the spot, so the number of satellites is limited. As for Dr. Ali's mini tracking device, the signal is extremely hidden. Among the known non-mythical beast Pokémon, only 5 species will feel the signal, and 3 of them will react violently, so in most cases, it is safe. Wait, are you targeting our crossing now? When will you? Although Zylaksha doesn't know much about science, she at least understands that she needs a signal device to track her, right? Well, when our crossing went to discuss the tatami compensation, didn't I go to the bathroom? It was at that time. It seems that her ninja practice is not good yet. Amu said confidently. Point at that time, Amu directly let the coffin outside the door and used the extended shadow hand to stick the tracker to the belt in her room. She did not enter the room, let alone touched other things, so our crossing also nothing was found. Point at this time, Zylaksha looked at Eminem suspiciously. What are you doing with a tracker on someone? Then what did you guess about the owner of the gymnasium in Light Red City? Well, I've heard some rumors, and yesterday when our crossing refused to go to Eugene Mountain with us, he behaved a little strangely. Amu simply explained. Point after learning that Amu can track our crossing, Ghoststone's attitude changes drastically. Ahem. Human beings, if you want to verify whether that a crossing, a Jew, is a bad person, as long as you beg me, I can't help you. Ghoststone still said with confidence, no, I'm not interested in this, but if there is a Ghoststone who bows to me, I can consider helping. Eminem corrected the causal relationship. Point Ghoststone immediately looked nonchalant. Forget it, they're just a bunch of idiots anyway. At this time, Amu had turned around and left directly, and after leaving the hotel, they both released the armored rhinoceros and left in the opposite direction of going deep into Eugene Mountain, that is, the camping area. Point Ghoststone. Seeing this, Zylaksha asked worriedly, Mum, why don't we go and see our crossing? Don't. Look at Zylaksha's performance just now. She trusts Saju and Axing very much, but thinking that there may be mistakes, Zylaksha herself is not at ease. Point of course, Zylaksha also understands Eminem. She definitely doesn't really want to leave. She just thinks that he is begging him to lure the Ghoststone. Point after looking around and making sure that Ghoststone is not nearby, Eminem said in a low voice, of course I'm going to take a look. Now I'm not just wasting time just hanging it. I'm going to the camping area first. There is a signal from the Pokémon Center. I will go and inform Mr. Jumu of possible changes in Yujianshan. The Amu people are soft spoken. If they go directly to the Pokémon Center to call the police and say that Aju is going to mess around in the Eugene Mountain Reserve, no one will answer him. Point. But as long as Mr. Jumu believes, he will definitely be able to mobilize the people of the Alliance. Zylaksha, what's wrong? Amu looked at Zylaksha suspiciously. It's nothing. You are really cautious. Zylaksha couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Point when facing the haunting, Amu was a group of reckless, but now, Amu is not so cautious as a young man. Point however, although Eminem's plan is good, it is a pity that there is an unexpected situation just in time for Mr. Jumu to be unable to answer the phone, because he is doing important research. Helpless, Amu had no choice but to leave a message for Mr. Jumu. According to the response from Mr. Jumu, tonight, Mr. Jumu will go out to check the message. Today is May 14th. To see what Ghoststone means, those people will act tomorrow night. Should also be in time. Point. After reporting to the teacher, Emu and Zylaksha immediately left the camping area and headed towards Eugene Mountain together. As soon as he left the camping area, Eminem noticed something. Lalalulu I saw Ghoststone suddenly jumping out in front of Eminem, making a grimace, and sticking out its ghost tongue, flicking back and forth in front of Eminem. Point. Although he didn't really lick it, Eminem still leaned back with a numbskull. Point. But he wasn't frightened, just simply uncomfortable with the tongue dangling in front of his face. Well, human beings, in view of the fact that you have withstood the test of this seat, I can give you a chance to accept further tests, Ghost. Ghoststone stopped in embarrassment, and then forcibly said without embarrassment, stand up. This seat will hide in your shadow in the future. If you can defeat those big villains with the help of this seat, then this seat, well, I will give you a chance for the 3rd round of trials. The 3rd round is it's the last round, Ghost. Ghoststone looked very reasonable. Point. Speaking of, still want Eminem to help it, but Eminem nodded and agreed, and he was so happy that Ghoststone was taken aback. On the one hand, Eminem didn't intend to threaten Ghoststone with help at first, but he had to go back to the camping area anyway to tease him. Tom was happier too. As for the test, wouldn't it be fine, as long as Ghoststone doesn't admit that Eminem passes, if it's communicating with humans? Such conditions are definitely unbelievable, but for Pokémon, even this old fritter's Ghoststone is still a Pokémon after all, and Eminem believes what it says in this situation. It's really cheap for you, Gissy. You really a ghost trainer, right? Otherwise, I'll hide in your shadow. It's fine if you lose your life, mainly because I'm going to be uncomfortable. Ghost, TSK. TSK, your shadow is not bad. Ghost, hiss, why? Does your shadow still smell like an idiot puppy? Ghost. Stone was still complaining endlessly. As for Pippa's breath, Eminem guesses that he is a beast trainer of the moon path. He has a ghost type aura, which makes Ghoststone feel comfortable, and also has a fairy type aura, which makes him feel familiar. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89 Tracking. In Eugene Mountain, Eminem and Zyloxia sometimes ride the armored rhinoceros, sometimes put away the armored rhinoceros, and climb up and down by themselves. After all, Eugene Mountain is not just the name of a mountain, but also the name of a surrounding mountainous area. The area is larger than the combined urban area of the 7 major cities. The terrain is very complicated, and it is definitely not a simple problem of going up and down. Under Eminem's pointing and Ghoststone's guidance, the two of them, a ghost, gradually approached a crossing's position. Eminem can only see the direction and distance, while Ghoststone, who is familiar with the environment, can point out the shortcut point, although he has been away for more than 30 years. Eugiantian's environment has not changed much. The direction has changed again. She started to turn eastward. It seems to be going around in circles. You couldn't understand a crossing's way of action, could it be? She is sending us a message? You write down her trajectory and trace it out to see if it's a word. Zyloxia said with a big brain. Probably due to more contact with Conan. Zyloxia's thinking has broadened. But sure enough, Ghoststone seemed to have thought of something, and then said, let's go back to the mountain stream just now, without passing through go back. Eminem still didn't respond. Even if our crossing changed direction, the general direction she was following was always right, so why did she have to go back? She should have entered Eugene Mountain. There is an entrance near the mountain stream just now. Let's go into Ghost 2. Ghoststone explained. Only then did you understand that there should be an underground space in Eugene Mountain. Our crossing has already entered the inside, so the trajectory of her actions looks so strange, as if she is circling some invisible obstacle. If it is in the complex terrain of the underground space, then the current situation makes sense. In this world, there are huge underground spaces in many places, most of which are burrowing Pokémon such as gophers, which are dug out day after day by descendants, and have their own unique ecosystems. However, they are basically semi-natural, and the digging Pokémon just digs and hollows out the places that can be dug. Stable underground caves generally have a thick rock shell, which cannot be dug in anywhere. The largest underground ecology is undoubtedly the Sinnoh underground. Hundreds of large and small underground areas connected by underground passages in addition to natural factors. The Sinnoh Alliance also artificially expanded the underground area and repaired the exhaust vents. The underground space of the entire Sinnoh region forms a complete Sinnoh underground. Although there are not so many underground spaces in Kanto, and the largest one is a gopher cave in the east, the farthest you can go is from Hulan City, the underground cave, to Jinhuang City. There is also an underground area under Eugene Mountain, but because the entrance is very hidden and the range is inside Eugene Mountain, not many people know about it. Soon, Eminem and Zyloxia came to a giant tree under the guidance of Ghoststone. It's this tree. Climb up and search for it. There should be a ghost hole in the tree. Ghoststone reminded. Fortunately, Eminem and Xyloxia are not fat, otherwise it might be really hard to get in. When Xyloxia slipped into the hole, she shoveled down Emu, who came down first, and the two of them slipped down the steep tunnel. It didn't hurt, but after that, the eyes of the two of them went dark. After an unknown amount of time, the two finally woke up. It hurts, Xyloxia said while covering her head. Eminem also felt a faint headache, and it didn't feel like a traumatic impact, but rather familiar, like, you're finally awake. You've been unconscious for more than 2 hours, Ghoststone said anxiously. We just. Eminem looked at Ghoststone suspiciously. You guys just fell down, but luckily I reacted quickly. Ghoststone looked proud. Armu secretly said sure enough, grinned and said, how did you react? I immediately inflated my ghost energy, spread my body and caught you. Ghoststone said confidently. Slim Shady, it really is you. Let's just say that this feeling is very similar to the time when I was poisoned by gas, but harder when you pick it up. We may not wake up tomorrow. Amu said with white eyes. This is why Xyloxia is forbidden to toss as a person in the Pokémon world. The hypoxia caused by gas can also be relieved with the passage of time. Ordinary people in the zoo Pokémon world cannot die. Amu shook his head, cooked instant noodles again, and ate something briefly. After waking up for a while, the two set off again. Under the guidance of Ghoststone, the two approached a crossing in the intricate underground cave. Originally, Eminem was worried that the lights he brought were not enough. After all, he didn't know that there were caves in Eugene Mountain, so he only brought emergency lights. But Ghoststone is directly lit with wisps. It looks like Eminem's shadow is on fire, although the color has bleed a little. Xyloxia can see clearly without delaying her journey. Along the way, I also met a lot of Pokémon, but they were all Pokémon that are common in the underground environment of Kanto, such as supersonic bats, gophers, small fist stones, and big rock snakes. The Picosi family and the Genji UI family that Eminem cares about the most, didn't see any of them. Idiot. Pippi and Idiot Ghoststone can already be seen here at ordinary times, but today, they should all be in Ghost Square in Moonlight Square. Ghoststone reminded. Eugene Square? Eminem was a little puzzled. Well, that's where the Moonstone is located. Every year those idiot Pippis are waiting to evolve today. Ghoststone explained. Now Ghoststone's guidance is not according to the position that Eminem locked, but takes them directly to the Moonside Square. The target of those bad guys should also be there. Pippi can use the power of the Moonstone to guide evolution. That huge Moonstone should be able to provide almost the same power as a Moonstone. What about Ghoststone? How do you evolve? Amy asked suspiciously. It's actually different from the Moonstone you mentioned. It is a more essential power, and its effect on the idiots is not to promote evolution. Before Ghoststone finished speaking, Amu suddenly made a silent gesture. Then I saw Eminem holding the glasses on his ears, as if he was listening to something. It's getting closer. I can hear the sound. Eminem also ignored the previous topic. The tracker does have the function of eavesdropping, but it only needs to transmit the sound signal, and the requirements for the distance are more stringent, and it can only be used when it is close enough. Chapter 90 Listening. Several hours have passed since I was able to hear the voice. During the period, Amu and Xyloxia ate compressed biscuits once and drank the energy enhancing drink. It can overdraw the body for a short time, and it's okay if you don't sleep all night, but it can't be used continuously. Gradually, under the guidance of Ghoststone, Eminem and Xyloxia came to the underground area with its own light source. Some stones and fungi here emit light fluorescence. Even without wild wisp lighting, Eminem can still maintain normal eyesight. Even Xyloxia can see more than 10 meters around. It has already entered the range of Eugene Mountain. The Eugene Mountain that Ghoststone is talking about now refers to the main peak of Eugene Mountain. Mu suspects that this is the belly of the main peak of Eugene Mountain. At the same time, wait. There is a voice. Eminem stopped talking, leaning on his glasses, and listening. Xyloxia and Ghoststone in the shadow of Emu also came closer at this time, as if they wanted to hear it. The voice is too low. Xyloxia complained impatiently after listening for a long time, but couldn't hear anything clearly. The signal is not good. Ghost? Ghoststone really knows a lot of human vocabulary. No, it's not a signal problem. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to hear it at all. Now it should be that a crossing is still some distance away from the sound source. Amu corrected, defending Dr. Ailey's technology point. The goal this time is, yes. Thanks to Mr. Mazishi for being willing to cooperate. Everyone takes what they need. Unfortunately, both Aju and Nazi, that bastard Sakaji, happy cooperation. How is it? Xyloxia asked anxiously. Point originally, the voice was blurred, and Xyloxia couldn't hear anything at all, intermittently, but it seems it should be related to the rockets. Eminem said this, with a puzzled expression on his face. Team Rocket. It really is those villains. But what does this have to do with our crossing? Xyloxia asked angrily. I don't know yet. The other party should have already come in. A lot of people, and they seem to call Sakaji an asshole. Ami also wondered if it was a member of the Rockets. What did they call Sakaji for? If it's not from the Rockets, the names of Mazishi, Aju, Nazi, etc. are all mentioned. So could it be the Rockets? Master Sakaji. It must be a good thing that Master Sakaji broke the Rockets. That's why they hate Master Sakaji. Xyloxia said reasonably. Point after all, she had no idea that Sakaji was the behind the scenes boss of the Rockets. I also mentioned Aju and Nazi and Mazishi. Amu was also thinking about the relationship between the characters. Ah, I see. It must be the owners of Aju and Nazi who are also sabotaging Team Rocket's plan. As for Mazishi, he may have been recruited by the Rockets. Xyloxia said fairly and objectively. Point after all, in Xyloxia's heart, the owner of Aju is very similar to her father, who is the mainstay of the alliance, and Nazi, as the youngest owner, is the leading superpower in Kanto and even in the world, is Xyloxia's idle point. As for Mazishi, he used to be the owner of the official gymnasium in Deadly City, but in Xyloxia's impression, this guy has a bad personality and is very unpleasant. It is also because of multiple injury incidents in the gym, including the challengers Pokémon being maliciously injured and serious bullying among gym students. At the beginning of this year, he was deprived of his official gym qualification point. That Rocket's team partner must be him. Eminem obviously has a different opinion though. In the animated version, among the three owners, although Mazishi has a bad temper and likes to bully the weak, and Nazi even took the script of the female devil, but none of them have anything to do with the Rockets. But in the comic version, these three, Nazi, Aju, and Mazishi, are the three major cadres of the Rockets under Sakaji. Point as for the Rockets in reality, as far as Eminem understands, the cadre setting is somewhere between the game and the comics. The behind the scenes boss and the three major cadres are at the top of the Rockets. If Sakaji is Kato, then these three are the three disasters, but their identities are secret at the civil level. Point then there are 7 generals and 4 beast warriors, which are different from the comic version. Point some of the identities of the 7 generals are on the surface, and some are also hidden, while the 4 beast warriors are the leaders of the 4 subordinate organizations of Team Rocket. Eminem has no way of confirming their specific identities, but now Amu is basically convinced that the identities of the 3 major cadres should be the same as the comic version. That is, the owner of the light red gym, the king level trainer of the poison department, Aju, the former owner of the withered leaf gym, and the electrical department, Cheyenne One trainer Mazishi, and the owner of the Golden City Gymnasium, Super Queen Nazi. Point I saw Eminem released the ditto, and seemed to have explained something to it, and then put the ditto on his backpack, and carried it on his back. What's wrong? Xyloxia asked suspiciously. It's nothing. It's already 7 o'clock in the afternoon. There are 4.5 hours to go, almost when the full moon reaches its highest point this year. Let's hurry up. Amu didn't say much, but continued to rush to Moon Sea Plaza. Point as he continued to go deeper, Eminem found that Ghoststone became more irritable. It seems that it is not normal that he has not encountered the Pokémon of the Pixie family or the Jenga family until now. Point even other Pokémon have become rare. Point just at this moment, there was a slight noise suddenly behind the rocks on the side. Who? At the same time as Amu asked, the shadow suddenly elongated, and when it reached the rock, the front end of the shadow suddenly stand up, forming the appearance of a ghost. Precisely the Pokémon hiding behind was startled, and it turned out to be a rat. "Hey, have you seen other Pokémon? What's going on here?" Ghost Stone asked anxiously. "Chap." The mountain rat looked very frightened. At this time, Eminem hurried forward and stopped Ghost Stone. "It isn't fright. Let me try it." As Eminem said, he slowly stretched out his hand because the eyelids were high enough at the beginning. The mountain mouse dodged a little, but did not resist much. Then under animal senses, Eminem probably understood what happened before. Sure enough, there are a large number of Pokémon hunters lurking in, and they are cooperating, and many Pokémon have been caught. Eminem said seriously. The opponent's main targets should be the Picossi family and the Genji UI family, but in order not to startle the snake, Pokémon other than these two types will also clear the field after encountering them. Afterwards, they split up. "Where do these three roads go?" Amu asked, looking at the three forks ahead. "They all go to UG Ancient Square. This one is farther, and the idiot Pippi and the idiot Ghost Stone will not take this Ghost Stone." Ghost Stone said, "Then we should be able to catch up to the farthest road, and this road has the least number of people." Eminem was going to save some captured Pokémon first. Judging from the expression of the mountain mouse, the captured Pokémon are all kept in cages after all. If you want to use the Pokéball transmission system on a large scale, it will be monitored by Junsha, and the result of forced capture and transmission must have just been captured. When they are sent to the place of foster care, escapes and even riots occur on the spot. I don't know if it was Eminem's illusion, but the action along the way was surprisingly smooth. The rockets really didn't put some eyeliner along the way, as if they were waiting for Eminem to attack. Chapter 91. Soon Amu and Zyarksha approached the illegal hunting gang that kidnapped a large number of underground Pokémon. At the corner, Mew and Zyarksha were hiding, and Mew's shadow, that is, Ghost Stone, twisted around the corner at this time, peeking at the Pokémon hunter who was resting there. At 12 people, 3 catching cage cars, and they are resting now. "Do you want me to release gas ghosts?" After Ghost Stone turned back, he discussed with Eminem. 12 trainers, don't do it. Since they are here to catch Ghost Stone and Ghost Stone, they must have a gas monitoring device. Amu quickly stopped Ghost Stone and then asked, "Is there any other way to get here where I'm resting?" Afterwards, Ghost Stone suggested again, "Yes, there is, but it's above Ghost. The place where these Pokémon hunters rest is an open and elevated underground area. In addition to the road that Eminem followed, there is also a road to the high place here. Let's divide into 2 groups. Coffin, stay here. Wait for me to take my place in a while. Listen to my command." Eminem ordered solemnly. Then, under the guidance of Ghost Stone, Eminem went around to the high place in a few minutes. The passage here is narrower, and it looks like a dead-end road at first glance, but as long as you look down, you can find the bottom is just where those Pokémon hunters rest, and there is a drop of about 10 meters. Coffin, start to act. Zyarksha, don't come out in person. It depends on the occasion. The loudspeaker that Eminem left in the coffin made a sound at this moment. After Coffin heard this, his body twisted for a while, and he became the one in Marzish's promotional photo. It was after hearing the name Marzishi that Amu made Coffin recall it. Compared with turning into other Pokémon, it is much easier to become a human memory. After all, it is just an appearance. Unlike turning into other Pokémon, it will also change abilities. And if you want to write it down, you haven't completely written it down. Only the facial features, except the head and eyes, are clear, and Marzish's general body shape is pinched, but below the head, except for the hands, the whole body is as fake as dough. Because there is no more time to memorize the clothes and details. Coffin directly puts on Eminem's changed clothes, although Marzish's clothes are a bit tight, because Marzishi is very strong, but he can barely see them. Then there is the most important thing, sunglasses, and the Coffin is also put on. Who is it? The Pokémon hunters who were resting asked after hearing footsteps. Then I saw some gay Marzishi came out from the corner, because I didn't prepare in advance, and Amu usually doesn't wear sunglasses, so Marzishi wears Zyarksha's sunglasses. Master Marzishi, sure. enough. The other party was not face blind, and he was very familiar with Mazishi, so he recognized Mazishi. He also called Master Mazishi, which made Eminem more convinced that they were the Rockets with changed uniforms. Why? Did you come in person? Could it be that Sakaji? When the other party opened his mouth, Armu was a little confused, so Mazishi himself wasn't here. Fortunately, Armu reacted quickly enough and immediately said, "Shut up. Sakaji, was it you who called me?" "That's right, Mazishi of Gege." The reason why he can make a voice is of course Eminem dubbing, and using a voice changer as for the action. Armu is using the long range animal senses to direct the coffin. If they look up carefully, they will find that Armu is facing the Master Mazishi in the shape of a juncture at the hole hanging above. Fortunately, the light here is dim, and the others didn't notice that their lips didn't match. As the owner of the official gymnasium in Kuwai City, Mazishi is also a representative of the electric system trainers. In the small learning video given to Amu by Mr. Jumu, there are videos of Mazishi fighting. From these videos, you can analyze the tone of Mazishi's tone. Sorry. I mean, is there any order from the boss? The other party changed his mind immediately. But look at his attitude. He has no respect for Sakaji. Eminem secretly said. Bet right. Combining what Mr. Jumu said with himself before, Eminem guessed that the Pokémon hunter who came here now does belong to the Rockets, but it is against Sakaji, and it is likely to be part of the opposition against Sakaji because of the championship campaign. And their leader should be Mazishi. You guys really can't do anything. Mazishi made a disdainful voice as he said that. He walked towards the iron cage, where the Pokémon was held with a stern face. In fact, Coffin doesn't know how to make facial expressions when he becomes a human being, and being able to move his lips is already the limit. Fortunately, Mazishi seems to have a straight face at ordinary times, but no one doubts it. The leader of the Pokémon hunters present quickly bowed his head at this moment, as if accepting the correction. As soon as Mazishi stood in front of the iron cage, Amu felt the Coffin's thoughts. There is a lock, a key. While regretting and nervous in his heart, Amu commanded Mazishi to make the next move. Stretch out his hand. Mazishi didn't turn his head back, just stretched out his hand to the leader next to him, and didn't speak. The latter first looked at Mr. Mazishi, and found that he should be staring at the keyhole of the iron cage, so guessing, he took off the key from his waist and handed it to Mazishi. Seeing this, Amu secretly said, "It seems that Mazishi is not an approachable leader at ordinary times, and his subordinates dare not ask more questions when they have questions." However, just when Eminem thought that the Hyling project was about to succeed, the other party suddenly paused and asked with some surprise and guilt, "Master Lambda, could it be you are joking with your subordinates? Slim Shady? Who is Lambda?" The name sounds familiar at first glance, but Eminem doesn't have time to think about it now. After all, I don't know Mazishi or the Rockets at all, so if I say a few more words, I will reveal my truth. So after Amu gave the last instruction to the coffin, he took a deep breath and then released Arduin. "Stop talking nonsense, Zishi from Gege made a final sound and immediately grabbed the key handed out by the other party. Before waiting for the other party's reaction, I saw an armored rhino fell from the sky and landed directly on one of the iron cages. Bang! The iron cage trembled suddenly and even slightly deformed. A strong electric light could be seen flashing. Obviously it was still connected to the electricity, but for the ground type armored rhinoceros, it was useless at all. Instead, the moment the armored rhino landed on the cage, the attack formed by the fluctuation of gravity rushed towards everyone around. At the same time, Eminem, who was riding on the armored rhinoceros, released all the other Pokémon he was carrying. Chapter 92 PHARMACIST and -039 S Actual Combat. Big Wolf Dog, Bite Giant, Pincer Mantis, Double Slash, Huanla, Metal Claw, Heluga, Flame. Although Eminem's opponents are not professional Pokémon hunters, they are all fighters of the Rockets. They are very familiar with gang fights and black fights, even when not in battle. Everyone has a Pokémon or two outside. Amu unexpectedly rode an armored rhino and smashed it down, and there was an earthquake, which did cause a lot of damage, and he was lying on the ground at that time. However, it was just an effect that caught people's attention first, and then they were faced with siege from all directions, of course. Eminem did not show any weakness here. Sunny day, hypnosis powder, hypnotism, light wall, poison water chestnut. Eminem has already arranged the tactics. Boom, who can urge all the urges, but who can't urge, opens the light wall and spreads the poisoning on the coffins. Was it a big advantage for a while? Well, in a normal battle, there are 9 out of 10 chances that you won't be able to achieve such an effect. Even with miscellaneous soldiers, there are always level 30 Pokémon. But, the Pokémon on Eminem's side are also appearing in a state now. All kinds of boosting potions have been used beforehand. In the game alone, there are various booster potions that can be used directly in battle to improve the status of Pokémon, which are so-called strength enhancement, defense enhancement and other props. It's just that in PvP, props are not allowed to be used. Only props carried by Pokémon will automatically take effect point. And in this world, there are naturally such potions in professional competitions. The use of foreign props is also prohibited. Only the Pokémon themselves, or have eaten the tree fruit potion, are within the rules. Otherwise it is a serious foul point. But the advantage is that using potions in this world will not take up a round and can be taken in advance. And for Eminem, the most indispensable thing is the potion. Eminem has given all his Pokémon a full set of enhancement potions beforehand. Now it's an actual battle, not a competition. Nor is it trying to tame wild Pokémon. There are no rules, and there is no need to take into account whether the other party is convinced. Status improvement is still very important for Pokémon. It is not simply excitement or better performance, but a feeling similar to opening the genetic lock point. Pokémon's abilities and skills are closely related to genes, the genes of this world, especially the genes of Pokémon, although they also have a double helix structure. But before crossing with Eminem, genes in this world are two different things, which will directly affect the abilities and status of Pokémon. For Pokémon, the gene chain is more like the meridians in martial arts. Ordinary trainers may not pay much attention to these, but Dr. Jumu's video to Eminem has imparted these basic knowledge point from the teaching video of Mr. Jumu. Eminem has also understood that the genes that regulate various abilities are a group of 6 pairs of gene sequences combined. Normally, these 6 pairs of gene sequences are all excited, silent, which is the normal state point, and when it is strengthened, it will become excited, which is manifested as excited, manifested as a state of promotion, so that the corresponding ability is enhanced, or one layer of restrictions is reduced point. When the countermeasure is weakened, it will become silence, and it will also be expressed as silence, as a weakened state, or an increase in restrictions, because it is a gene segment composed of 6 sets of sequences. When it is strengthened to the highest level and the gene lock is fully opened, it will be the 6th level, excited, otherwise it will be the 6th level, silent. Just like in the game, the effect of attribute increase is very obvious for Pokémon. Note 1. In terms of the combat power value calculated by humans, double incentives, that is, 2 increases, can double the value of this attribute. It's a pity that the effects of the same potion cannot be superimposed, because the potion is in effect continuously. Even if the dose is doubled, it will only prolong the time point, and continuous use of potions is not good for Pokémon's health. However, there are also advantages to using potion boosts. It is precisely because the potions continue to take effect, so they will not be invalidated by entering the Pokeball like skill boosts. Note 2. Amu made himself and Zyuksha's Pokémon, including Ghost Stone, take a full set of enhancement potions in advance, so it is now in a boosted state. As soon as it appears, it is not easy to refine all kinds of encouraging potions. Generally speaking, a first level pharmacist can only make ordinary encouraging potions, which are divided into 6 types: strength, defense, special attack, special defense, speed, and hit. Vital force is the ability of Pokémon to withstand damage. There is no excited silent gene pair, so there is no increase or weakening point. 6 kinds of motivating potions, that is, they can increase the corresponding ability by 1 level point. This level of combat potion has the most mature technology, and it is universal for all Pokémon. It is also the potion that can be mass produced and bought in stores. The efficient incentive potion with a double increase already needs to be refined in different ways according to different types of Pokémon. It is an expert level potion. Not all expert level pharmacists have mastered it, but Eminem has mastered it. As for the currently recorded and strongest potent incentive potion, it can achieve a triple increase. Eminem can only be refined into the speed powerful incentive potion for plant Pokémon, that is to say, the speed of the froggrass and coconut egg tree is a 150% increase in value, and all others are a 100% increase point. Although the vitality cannot be increased, there is a hit incentive potion, other than the combat power statistics, which is essentially to speed up the reaction speed and perception, to improve the hit point with a full set of enhancements. The panel combat power of the early 30th level frogweed, coconut tree, nidorino, and iron rhino is equivalent to that of the 60th or 70th level. Just less vitality point. Therefore, a powerful pharmacist or a money capable person is very strong in actual combat point. Moreover, Eminem will also refine enable potion to make the Pokémon in a skill ready state. When it is released, this formula was given to Eminem by Grandma Leixi, and it is impossible to find it on the market. This team of Pokémon hunters who are suspected to be members of the Rockets is not very good. The ordinary members are not as good as professional trainers, or even better than the newcomers, otherwise they would not be members of the Rockets. The only little boss, just when he was about to react, the coffin beside him had transformed into Death Coffin. Of the 4 shadow hands, one held a key and went to poke the keyhole in the iron cage behind him, while the other 3 all grabbed the little boss in front of him. Seeing that Lord Marzishi has turned into a death coffin, the little boss Ajian also knows that he has been fooled, but it is too late. It's all actual combat, and of course it's normal to attack each other's trainers. It's just that Xyloxia didn't come out at all. Only Gem Starfish Sea Star, Kodak Duck, who had also taken the medicine in advance, even the horned goldfish Black Seahorse, and King Carp, who didn't take medicine and were not good at land combat, were also released. Although Froggrass opened Big Sunny Sky to maximize its advantage, all water attribute skills were abolished, but Gem Starfish and Kodak Duck both have super energy skills, while Horned Goldfish and Black Seahorse are just atmosphere groups. As for the Carp King, he was just jumping around happily. It is also because Xyloxia has never been in actual combat, she is too nervous, so she will release all the Pokémon that can be released in a hurry. The Pokémon hunters of Team Rocket were caught off guard and either rolled their eyes and fell asleep, or were shocked to the point of crying, and once they started running, they had to face the poisoning everywhere. Reapers. Coffin. Why always think about output? Eminem helped Coffin activate the genetic poisoning before the Pokémon transformed by diversity, which can also activate its genetic skills. Ouch. Arjan rolled around like a lazy donkey, avoiding the shadow of the death coffin, but the elbow rubbed against the poisoning on the ground. His face turned purple, and he felt numb all over his elbow. Resentful, he kicked the Carp King, who was jumping around on one side. You jump, you 20th. The next moment, the brilliance of evolution bloomed from the kicked Carp King. Arjan, seeing that the Carp King actually evolved, Armu was a little surprised, but it is true that the Carp King wants to evolve, and anger is one of the conditions. Immediately, Armu also threw a set of incentive potion to the Carp King. At the same time, after Coffin forced Aegean and his Pokémon back, an iron cage was opened at this time, and Eminem also got into another iron cage along the crack that was trampled by Aegean and twisted. The captured Pokémon are basically injured and have various negative states, so they are trapped in the electric cage. Now the earthquake that the iron armored rhinoceros fell from the sky has basically paralyzed the electrified equipment. Now as long as Amu can cure them with higher combat effectiveness. At this time, Xyloxia suddenly screamed. Someone wanted to leave to ask for help, but bumped into Xyloxia, who didn't have any Pokémon beside her. Note 1. The specific performance, that is, the same as in the game. The increased strength of the N level ability improvement is 2 plus N/2, that is, the double enhancement is doubled, and the 6-time enhancement is 400%. Otherwise, the N level weakens to 2/2 plus N. 2 weakenings are halved, and 6 weakenings are quartered. Note 2. The enhancement or weakening caused by the skill will be reset after the elf ball is recovered. The specific principle of the elf ball will be explained later, which is equivalent to falling asleep. The enhancement caused by the potion, because the potion is still effective in the body, reset it will take effect again when it is released, but it cannot be superimposed, but the skill can. In addition, the strengthening or weakening has a duration, and each time the skill is used, it will consume stamina, so unless you see an enemy or an enemy that will appear in an ambush soon, otherwise it will not remain strengthened forever. Chapter 93 Strange Pippi. Stop, or I'll. At this moment, a passerby from Team Rocket kidnapped Xyloxia. Jewel Starfish and other Xyloxia's Pokémon stopped attacking immediately. Only Gyarados was still outputting violently. For a moment, it was hard to see that it was Xyloxia's Pokémon. After all, Gyarados' character itself is manic, irritable, and unstable, and now it has just evolved. Even if Xyloxia herself wants to command it, it is difficult. Hey, stop immediately. Passerby a threat and Eminem. And Armu reacted quickly. He had already run to the side of the little boss who was stunned by the tail of the Gyarados, and directly took out a bottle of potion, and put it on his mouth. Let that woman go. Otherwise, my permanent sex-changing drug will not recognize people. Eminem said very firmly. Permanent sex change? Passerby a couldn't help being startled, and immediately annoyed. You still pretend you don't know your accomplice? How dare you believe in permanent sex change medicine? This is a potion specially developed by my teacher to breed rare Pokémon. Amu said with a haughty expression. During the conversation, only Xyloxia and the little boss Jang's Pokémon stopped, and Amu's Pokémon, as well as the released wild Pokémon, had completely taken advantage, and Amu was not afraid to drag it down, naturally talking nonsense without stress. Just when Amu was about to think of another condition to let the other party let go of Xyloxia first, he suddenly saw something behind the other party. Behind you. Eminem kindly wanted to remind me. Shut up. You think I'll believe? The next moment the other party didn't know the kindness. He saw a flash of cold light, and then saw him screaming, and the whole person flew towards Eminem, the kind of flying sideways, flying unwillingly. You bastards, don't you know whose territory this is? Then, I saw a small, pink, but very fierce figure, walking out from the shadows behind. Obviously it was it just now, and punched the Rocket's passerby with a punch. This is. Eminem looked at the Pokémon approaching with some surprise. From the appearance, this is definitely a Pippi, but in terms of temperament, I can't feel the cuteness of Pippi at all, but rather fierce. No, rather than saying it's fierce, it's better to say it's ruffian. You idiot, haven't been caught yet? Ghoststone seemed to know this Pippi. Pippi was taken aback when he heard the words, and then said, what, so you, a lost dog, are back, Pippi? It seems that the days to come will be more interesting. Turn around. Eminem also noticed that this is another Pokémon who has mastered telepathy and human language. This kind of Pokémon is still very rare. Even if it can be achieved at a technical level, very few Pokémon can master it, especially those who have mastered it so superbly. With the participation of this Pippi in the opening of the third iron cage, the situation on the scene was quickly brought under control. And Eminem also discovered this Pippi's fighting style at this time. It is a rare physical attack Pippi, who skillfully uses a Comet Fist to attack the seemingly short arm. When the skill is activated, after condensing the energy of the steel system, it will form a big circle, and the outline is very strong phantoms of his arms and fists. At the same time, the attack power of this punch, it makes Eminem suspect that this Pippi can belly drum, and should have already drummed it. Sure enough, after the battle gradually subsided, Pippi showed obvious fatigue. Quick, take the Pokémon back, Amu urged Xyloxia. Xyloxia was taken aback for a moment, and then immediately understood what Eminem meant. When in the Pokeball, Pokémon is in a semi-dormant state. Although the drug effect time will not be completely suspended, the consumption speed will be greatly reduced. Continually taking battle strengthening potions is not good for Pokémon's health, so try to prolong their effectiveness. At this moment, Eminem looked at Gissy Passage. Hey, why don't you come in first? Amen. Rushed too hard just now, and he was injured. Although there are emergency wound medicines, it is not impossible to deal with it. But, if Ghoststone is willing to be subdued temporarily, our men can send our men back first. Pokémon teleportation is not restricted by any wireless signals. But if you want to exchange the Pokémon you carry, you must be in a place with a signal. After all, you have to contact the depository first, and the other party is ready to send the stored Pokémon over Ghost. Stone looked at Eminem carefully, while Pippi picked his nostrils and said, TSK, don't you want to cheat? Pippi smiled strangely. Pippi point Slim Shady? No, just to prolong the time of the battle potion. This thing cannot be taken continuously. And, are you really Pippi? Eminem always felt that this Pippi was weird. TCH, so what? Only Pippi can be cute. Would you like me to give you a whimper? Pippi said disdainfully. Point Slim Shady. No, I'm hiding in your shadow, and I can temporarily sleep. Gissy. Ghoststone said, and had already submerged in Eminem's shadow. Hiding in the shadows is a special talent of the Genji UI family. Hey, what medicine are you talking about? Pippi was about to ask Armu, but Armu suddenly changed his expression. Shh, wait a minute. Seeing Armu holding her glasses again, Zylaksha understood what he heard from our crossing again. AGN's signal disappeared. Do you want to go to the altar of the moon as soon as possible? Only a vague voice came over again. It's not good. These guys should have signal devices on them. Although they can't communicate in real time, the other party already knows that they have been attacked. Amu said, glanced at the boulders formed by rock blockade and asleep guys. So, do you want to ambush them? Zylaksha suggested after hearing the words. No, although I didn't hear Daking. It seems that they are not going to come here, but are going to the altar of the moon. Eminem said and looked at Pippi. Hey, let's go and see who is making trouble in my uncle's territory. Pippi said proudly. Ghoststone is now sleeping in the shadows, so he can only lead the way. Although Ghoststone didn't say it, it obviously planned that way. And this uncle knows a road that other idiot Pippi and idiot Ghoststone absolutely don't know. Pippi said very spontaneously. Armu's eyes lit up when he heard the words. The Rockets would definitely be wary of the way the attacked guy was going. If they could change the way, they would be able to escape their vigilance. Of course, Eminem did not forget to use animal senses to communicate and temporarily pull away some wild Pokémon. Although the relatively strong ones are generally only around 30 levels, but they only use the wound medicine just now and have not used the incentive potion yet. Taking drugs before the war can be regarded as a big help. After all, Eminem is helping them save their compatriots and protect their habitats. So after a simple communication, these wild three gophers, Chuanshan Wang, Galagla, Big Rock Snake, Kadora, are also willing to cooperate. However, among the captured Pokémon, there is not a Pokémon from the Jenga family or the Pixie family. Looking at the Pokémon who was incited to act together with Save the Compatriots and was ready to be medicated at any time, Eminem suddenly fell into deep thought. What's wrong? Are you nervous? Zylaksha asked nervously. No, I suddenly felt. Do I look a little like Hoddy Jones? Who is that? An actor? Zylaksha wondered. It's nothing. You won't know. Chapter 94. Full Moon and New Moon. Miss A crossing. Eavesdropping on people's conversations is not a good habit. Boom. Zilala. Listening to the voice that just came, Amu couldn't help but feel strange. Seeing that it was almost here, Eminem suddenly hesitated, and Pippi beside him immediately taunted. Are you scared? Pippi. With my uncle here, you can just hide behind. What? Did you hear? Zylaksha asked quickly. Crossing seems to have been discovered, Amu said with a strange expression. Discovered? Zylaksha was taken aback when she heard the words. Judging from the voice just now, our crossing should have been attacked. The bug was also destroyed. Amu suspected that the attack on our crossing should be an attack method such as mental shock that can cover the whole body. Otherwise, it would not be possible to specifically destroy the bugging device. Sneak attack. I know. Our crossing must have come to check on the situation quietly. I said. No wonder the sound I heard before was so low. Xyloxa's spirit lifted up, and the previous haze was swept away. Originally, Xyloxa couldn't believe that our crossing, even the owner of Arju's house, was related to the rockets. Now it seems that a crossing should also be following them. The voice was quiet before, precisely because a crossing can't get too close. It's just that he was discovered just now. Then, we have to hurry up, or they may be bad for our crossing. Xyloxa breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, began to worry about our crossing's safety. At this moment, the front seemed to be again at a dead-end point, but Armu and Xyloxa were not surprised. They saw Pippi yelling and shouting, commanding Chuan Shenwang and the three gophers to go up and dig. After digging through a thin layer, they soon came to another road. You have a really detailed understanding of the terrain here. Eminem couldn't help but sigh with emotion. HMPH. If it wasn't for those idiots Pippi and idiot Ghost Stone, my uncle would have dug this place long ago. Pippi said in a natural tone. Well, if I translate it, it means, if there is no adult at home, I would have already gone to the house to expose the tiles at the beginning. Other Pokémon refused. Obviously, this place is very close to the moon altar. In the eyes of the wild Pokémon in Eugian Mountain, the moon altar is a very sacred place and cannot be dug randomly. But Pippi doesn't care about these. It has already dug by itself, knows where it can dig and where it can't. Don't look at Pippi's short arms and short legs, but it is also a Pokémon that can learn to digging holes. Dig upwards from here. After digging through, you will reach that bullshit altar. Cheer up, my uncle. Pippi looked heroic, but actually reminded everyone nervously. At this time, Eminem looked at the time on the illustration book. PM 11:18. The full moon is about to reach its highest point. A group of wild Pokémon who can dig. After digging through the last barrier, they entered another passage from the side wall. The altar of the moon is at the end of this road, and the other direction is a dead end. Those idiots would never have thought that my uncle would appear from here. Pippi laughed loudly. Because it is essentially telepathy, it can control the spread of sound. The enemy is very close. Some voices could even be heard vaguely. Obviously, the altar of the moon has also been occupied. Eminem quietly came to the hole at the end of the passage, only to find that it was another exit on the broken wall. Hanging in mid-air, Xyloxa accidentally dropped a small piece of gravel. Seeing someone looking over, Armu hurriedly pulled Xyloxa down. Below is the altar of the moon, a huge spherical rock in the center of this underground square. The overhang here is exceptionally high, making Eminem suspect that the main peak of the entire Eugian Mountain is hollow. At this time, in the square, there are only a group of Team Rocket members who look fierce, and Pokémon who are trapped and restrained in various ways. One of the leaders saw the time, then opened the iron cage where Pippi was imprisoned, then flicked the whip and said, "Quick, it's time. Dance for me, Pippi." Skin Pippi. Although I don't understand it, it's not hard to imagine that the Pippis who were released should be swearing at people as expected. Not all Pippis can be like the one in front of Eminem's telepathy. Even if it's swearing, it's a little cute. Vulgar human beings. Do you feel that this is the only way to be considered Pippi? TCH. Pippi said, picking his nostrils. Seeing this scene, the leader of Team Rocket sneered, then waved his hand. The subordinates immediately knowingly connected the electric current to the iron cages of the skin babies who were closed at the side. Although it was not fatal, the skin babies inside immediately screamed again and again. At this time, Armu also saw that there was a spell attached to the cage that locked Ghost Stone and Ghost Stone. Armu recognized it, and it was Amulet of Cleansing. In addition, Armu also saw our crossing who was tied up. The Pippis wanted to resist, but the injuries they had suffered before hadn't healed, and they were all out of shape, and they were quickly subdued by the guarding Pokémon around them. The Pippis were on the sidelines as hostages, and the Pippis had no choice but to compromise. TCH. A group of idiots. Fight with them. Shame on me. Pippi murmured beside Emu. However, Eminem noticed that its fist had hardened a long time ago, but it was still patient. At this time, the Pippis danced around the huge moonstone and danced their fingers accompanied by Pippi's awkward dance. The high rock wall above gradually became transparent, and the high hanging full moon shone in the moonlight from directly above. No, not only has it become transparent, The moonlight is brighter than it looks from the outside, and like a spotlight, it is concentrated on the huge moonstone point. This huge moonstone, also known as the moon eye, gradually bloomed a dazzling white light, and the white light centered on the moon eye and spread to the surrounding mountain walls. Some pattern was gradually outlined on the mountain wall. Unfortunately, Armu couldn't see it, because he was on the mountain wall, and because the members of the Rockets were also looking up, Armu immediately shrank back, but did not dare to show his head. Your Excellency is right. Eugene Mountain is indeed related to the god of the new moon. Liang, the little boss, muttered. From Team Rocket's point of view, it can be fully seen that a Pokémon with crescent-like horns on its head and crescent-like ring-shaped wings and tail is outlined on the wall. It looks like the god of the new moon, Cresselia. The position of the totem's eyes also corresponds to the two holes. Obviously it can't be a coincidence. After a while, 3 or 4 of the dancing Pippus gradually glowed with white light. Enough. Stop them. The leader of Team Rocket ordered. But at this moment, a black shadow suddenly sprang out of Cresselia's left eye. Before the Rockets could react, it slammed into them. Chapter 95 Rescue. Although I didn't dare to look closely at the scene below, Eminem also heard Pippi say that this is the ceremony that happens every year on May 15th in Eugene Mountain. Under the ritual dance of the Pippis, the moon eye will attract the power of the moon point. Not only all Pokémon that can evolve with the help of the moonstone, as long as their strength reaches the standard at this time, they will have the opportunity to evolve, and the Pokémon that evolves under the moon eye will have an individual value that is close to 10% degree, that is, approaching the theoretical maximum value. When the Pokémon has not grown to the limit, the individual value does not seem to be very important. However, when the growth rate of Pokémon reaches the limit of level 100, and the growth value is close to 50%, and it is difficult to increase it, the importance of the individual value raised on this basis will be particularly obvious. In addition, some people believe that the individual value is closely related to the aptitude of Pokémon, and the so-called high aptitude Pokémon means that the growth will be smoother and the bottleneck will be easier to break through. Individual value is not like growth value. It will not change easily. Eugiantian's Eye of the Moon is one of the few situations that can cause the transformation of individual values. If Eminem also saw the murals outlined by the moonlight, he would definitely guess that this place should be related to the god of the new moon, Cresselia. Even if the mural is rubbed and turned into a flat surface, you will find 3 main roads leading to the moon altar, which correspond to the crescent-shaped wings and tail. The Rockets are also divided into troops, 3 roads, attacking all the Pokémon along the way. But Arjan's road, just after the battle, and when he was resting, he was attacked by Eminem. After that, Eminem did not take the usual path, but under the leadership of Pippi, he took a shortcut to the moon altar from the left eye, where there was no path. Now here are the other 2. Although the Aegeana road that was attacked had the least number of people, but Amu estimated that after discovering that Aegeana was attacked along the way, some people would go to that passage to block unknown enemies and delay here. Right now, there are only about 20 members of Team Rocket on the moon altar. It's a pity that Pixie, who evolves every year, will leave Eugiantian. Otherwise the Rockets won't be able to control the situation so easily. After the moonlight filled the altar of the moon, 3 or 4 of the dancing Pippus gradually glowed with white light. Generally speaking, this was just the beginning, and more than a dozen Pippus would evolve every year. But Team Rocket didn't come to watch them evolve. Instead, I want to pack it up and take it away. After activating the Eye of the Moon, I also want to record the patterns on the surrounding mountain walls for reference when doing experiments with the Eye of the Moon point. Just when the Rockets wanted to interrupt Pippa's evolution, Eminem rode the armored rhino and smashed it down. At the same time as it landed, there was an earthquake, a sudden surge of gravity, sweeping away in all directions the more proficient Eminem, this time in the same mind as Arduin, maintained the state of ghost upper body, controlling the center of the area where the Rockets members are most dense, suddenly being attacked. The members of Team Rocket around them, as well as their Pokémon, were also in a hurry. It's a pity that they stood more scattered this time, and many people around were not affected. At the same time, Armu also cut off the animal senses of Arduin. and released the other Pokémon he was carrying, including Zyarksha's Gem Starfish and Gyarados. As long as the Pokeball is not locked, other people can use it. But the distance from the owner cannot be too far, otherwise it will be invalid point at this time. Pippi was also riding on the Iron Armored Rhino and jumped down, and Ghost Stone also rushed out from Eminem's shadow at this time. Because of the previous dormancy, Ghost Stone has not yet passed the medicine point, and when Pippi was on it just now, he activated Abdominal Drum, then healed his injuries and took other attributes of Incentive Potion. The effect of Abdominal Drum is to turn all the silent expressions on the 6 pairs of gene points corresponding to the physical attack attribute into passionate expressions, that is to say, even if they were previously suppressed by the 6 pairs of gene points. After heavy weakening, Belly Drum will also appear as a 6-fold enhancement point attack power equivalent to 4 times the statistical value. More importantly, at this time, Pippi's body gradually emitted white light. Evidently, it is also being stimulated to evolve by the Eye of the Moon, and Eminem even speculates that it should have been able to evolve long ago, but I don't know why it has been delayed until this. Yeah, the rockets had more minions present, and they responded quickly, launching a counter-attack immediately. However, at the opening of the left eye, there are also wild Pokémon rushing down at this time. Eminem has already given them all the battle potions on his body. Not good. Stop him. Liang saw that Armu was going to destroy the cage that kept Ghost Stone, so he quickly shouted point. Although there is a cleansing talisman on the iron cage where Ghost Stone is held, it cannot be simply destroyed. But Liang dare not gamble. The Pippus present here must continue the ritual dance to keep the moon eyes bloom uninterrupted. The other Pokémon locked up at this time are important combat power, especially Ghost Stone now also needs to evolve. Eminem also asked Pippi before why there is still a Ghost Stone thing. Obviously the Genji UI family does not need the Moonstone to evolve. Pippi also explained it to Eminem because Ghost Stone wants to hug Pippi's thigh. It is very difficult for Ghost Stones in the wild to evolve because without a trainer, they can only evolve with the power of Pippi. And under normal circumstances, this is difficult to achieve. It is true that because Jenga's body is close to Pippi, and after Ghost Stone evolves into Jenghost, he will have weight. So there was an urban legend that Ghost Stone wanted to eat Pippi to evolve. But in fact it is not a simple eating. Not only does Ghost Stone and Pippi have an excellent relationship, but Ghost Stone needs to draw enough power from Pippi's shadow, which is difficult to achieve normally. Unless it's time for Pippi to evolve. Therefore, Genji UI in the wild is very rare. And when Pippi uses the Eye of the Moon to evolve, Ghost Stone can also have a wave of effects. Therefore, in Eugian Mountain, besides Pippi and Bayo, there are many Ghost Stone and Ghost Stone inhabiting. Although the other Pippi and Ghost Stone are far less fierce than the 2 that Eminem met before, as long as a few more pairs evolve, the rockets can't stop them at all. The armored rhino's charge was stopped by an armored Tyrannosaurus at this time, but seeing that it was not far from Ghost Stone's cage, Amuzo used his inertia to flip forward and put his palm on the head of the enemy's iron-armored Tyrannosaurus. Holding on, he jumped towards the iron cage alone. The reason why Ghost-type Pokémon can be locked up is because of the above cleansing talisman. This thing can reduce the probability of a wild Pokémon appearing in the game, but in this world, it is specially used to dispel ghosts. Yes, it is very effective against ghost-type Pokémon. Now the amulet of cleanliness above should all come from the hands of the ghost trainer, so that all ghost stones dare not touch the iron cage. But Eminem, who has the power of the slight moon path, which is equivalent to the power of the ghost system, although he can't draw, at least he can peel it off. Here, ignoring the double bomb gas spraying poison on him behind him, Armu resisted and tore off the clean talisman on the iron cage. The 2 big wolfhounds were about to pounce on Emu, who fell to the ground after being poisoned, but at this moment, guess groups of ghost stones, ignoring the scattering of the iron cage, floated out and directly knocked away the Pokémon that were rushing towards Eminem. Dang. I recommend a new elf book, Elf Invasion. I traveled alone, promoting elves, a science-based elf book written by a friend. If you are interested, you can read it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort, we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96 Ninja. Eminem released Ghost Stone, which seemed to be the turning point of this melee. Unlike Pippi, who continues to dance, Ghost Stone can enter the shadow of his partner Pippi at the moment it evolves, and can join the battle before that point. Although the race value of Ghost Stone is not high, and the growth rate of wild Ghost Stone is not too high, but the ghost type Pokémon have very strange fighting methods, and the scene is becoming more unfavorable for Team Rocket. Nido, just when the moonlight was getting brighter and brighter, I saw Nidorino suddenly raised his head to the sky and screamed, and at the same time burst out with the light of evolution. After the light dissipated, he had evolved into the Blue King Nido. Nidorino is also a Pokémon that evolved with the power of the Moonstone. At this time, he successfully rubbed a wave of Eye of the Moon, and his individual value, which was not low at first, was raised to a theoretically almost full value. Hey, if you want to evolve, I can't give you a hand. TSK. TSK. Use your shadow to evolve. It really makes ghosts sick to think about it. Ghost, you can't move, can you? Pippi, this seat can fight 10 more ghosts. Seeing that the two Pippi and Ghost Stone that Eminem met were in critical condition at this time, although both were already at level 50, and they were very good at fighting and took drugs, they did not evolve to Picosi before Genji. Their racial value was flawed. Fortunately, at this time, Pippi's evolution is almost at the last moment. Eminem was on the sidelines, taking the antidote by himself. Unfortunately, although this thing is effective for humans, it cannot be as immediate as it is for Pokémon. Eminem is still dizzy and his face is purple. In that Sundeer of the two sides, seeing a large number of Pippi and Ghost Stone have evolved one after another, the rockets present have lost their momentum. However, at this moment, a stream of water thicker than a big rock snake suddenly appeared. No, it should be said to be water cannon, which sprayed out from the passage corresponding to the end of the new moon, that is, the passage that Aegean, who was attacked by Eminem first, should have walked. Water cannon, with one sweep, it directly achieves the effect of clearing the field point. Whether it was the just evolved Nidoking, or Pippi and Ghost Stone and Sundeer, they were all rushed out without any resistance, and slammed into the rock wall. Seeing this, Eminem couldn't help feeling tense. Although it seemed that he was clearing the field regardless of the enemy or himself, it could be seen that he was mainly clearing his own side. It's just that the other party doesn't seem to care that there are people from Team Rocket or Pokémon being accidentally injured. Xyloxia's Gem Starfish and Gyarados wanted to resist them by relying on their water attributes, but Gem Starfish's surfing and Gyarados' waterfall climbing were pushed back in an instant. What a hindrance. Jewel Starfish, Gyarados. Xyloxia exclaimed and wanted to go forward, but was stopped by the weak A crossing point. Just now Xyloxia took advantage of the chaos to save A crossing, and now she is supporting her. However, at this moment, a large number of Pokémon lost their fighting power. Then, accompanied by the sound of footsteps, I saw a female trainer wearing a long skirt, with a cold face, curly hair, and a little anxious, walking out with her Jewel Starfish. It's no wonder I waited for nothing. So there are other passages? The cold woman's tone was also very cold. Master Satches, I'm sorry. Seeing this, Liang and another little boss, Harry, immediately wanted to apologize. Shut up, you bastards. You can't even deal with this little person. Saki interrupted directly. The two who were reprimanded couldn't help but fight with each other. They didn't dare to say much, they just lowered their heads. At this moment, a pile of rubble was lifted, and the figures of Genji and Pixie were revealed inside. Amu recognized them from his temperament. They were the two he knew. It seems that at the last minute, they still fit. But even so, Eminem didn't dare to take any chances in his heart. After The evolution of Genji UI and Pykexi, the race value has indeed followed, but the strength is only at the level of Boom and Coffin Point and this Sage. She hasn't seen her other Pokémon yet, but the gem starfish that is exposed now must be of the Uranus class, and it must not be weak even in the Uranus class, not an opponent like me who can be dealt with incentive potion, with half a bucket of water. What's more, everyone's incentive potion is gradually becoming invalid. Forget it, I'll argue with you later. Gem starfish, get rid of them. Satch gave an order, and her jewel starfish spun and flew into the air. Then I saw the gem in the center of the gem starfish bursting out with red light, and the power of the super energy system gradually radiated in all directions. Amu immediately understood that the other party was going to use the power of the superpower system to kill all the Pokémon who hadn't lost their fighting power, even those who hadn't fainted point just when Amu was helpless and felt that he was going to be captured in all likelihood. He was already thinking about reporting the name of Teacher Jumu and warning the other party that he had notified Teacher Jumu in advance. From the right eye cave of the Kreslea totem on the wall, suddenly a cold light flashed out and went straight to the gem starfish in midair. Swish 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 swish, duang, accompanied by the sound of slashing and collision. I saw that this majestic jewel starfish was shot down, as if it had been severely injured. What? Satch couldn't help but shrink his pupils. Then I saw a figure coming out of the cave in the right eye. I am also knew this person point, although I haven't seen it with my own eyes. After all, I just checked his information not long ago, especially now his body is even more familiar to Amu, the same style as our crossing. It is the owner of the official gymnasium in Light Red City and the master of poison type Pokémon. Arju, and the real body of that cold light, Emu also saw clearly at this time. It was a forked bat. Amu understood that this should be Arju's well-known main Pokémon, the Great Heaven Leaking level crossbit point. The forked bat rushed out just now and shot down the jeweled starfish with the insect type cross/move, and this gemstone starfish was directly hit by Arju's forked bat with a restrained insect type move, and at this time it was able to float up to confront it. Presumably, it is also at the Great Heaven Leaking level, that is, its combat power has reached 12 once. Pokémon is undoubtedly Arju. As expected of you, you didn't even show up when your daughter was arrested. Seeing this, Saki couldn't help gnashing his teeth. Originally, she suspected that A Crossing would not be here for no reason, so she never came out in real body, but secretly informed A Liang that they attacked A Crossing Point, and Sachi is sure that Arju didn't arrive just by coincidence, but has been waiting for him. At this moment, A Crossing also stared at her father in confusion. It is true that she did not know the relationship between her father and the rockets before, but found some clues. In order to confirm her guess, she came to Eugian Mountain Point. It was precisely because she guessed that her father might be a cadre of the rockets. That's why she kept silent about Zyarksha before, let alone act together. However, Arju is obviously not from the same faction as Saki in this operation, but an undercurrent surging in the investigation organization. The black hand behind the scenes hasn't appeared yet, so how could I expose it first? Arju's emotions didn't waver at all. It was only halfway that he found out that his daughter was following him, so he used his tricks. Think of it as another ninja lesson for your daughter until Sachi was exposed. Sachi, one of the 7 generals of the Rockets. Chapter 97. The final test. Saki's gloomy expression did not change at this time, but he pretended to be friendly and said, "Hey, Mrs. Ju was joking. I was also worried that my daughter might misunderstand us, so I caught her first." Originally, A Crossing had already believed that he had misunderstood before, that his father had nothing to do with the rockets, and even his father should have appeared here to stop the rockets. But now hearing Sachi's address, A Crossing became puzzled again. "Saki, I don't remember that boss approved the operation in Eugian Mountain," Arju said directly without any concealment. "Approval or something. Our rockets, usually we can fight on our own, right? It's just that I'm very interested in this harvest, so I didn't inform everyone." Sachi casually attributed the secret operation suspected of rebellion and conducted without Sakaki's knowledge as unauthorized action. Chu also noticed that Saki was rubbing a few elf balls between his fingers, looking like he was ready to go to war at any time. At this moment, there was a sudden burst of noise in the passage, followed by, "Listen, people inside. You are surrounded. Immediately put down the Pokeball and release the captured Pokémon." There were bursts of shouts. Apparently Eminem's previous suggestion to the teacher worked. It seems that the Junsha clan and the Alliance's henchmen are here, so I won't accompany you too much. I will explain the matter here to Lord Daju next time. Miss A crossing. I was rude before, Satch said, looked at Liang and Harry, and said coldly, "Close the team." The other members of Team Rocket didn't dare to look at Arju, and those who could still walk took with them one after another. Then they saw Saki's jeweled starfish, and the red gemstone in the center of his body flashed. Under the shroud of a burst of superpower, the light around the team members of Team Rocket was distorted and became invisible to the naked eye. Only the sound of leaving footsteps could be heard. "This is protective color?" Eminem muttered with a strange expression. Normally, protective color is a rare skill with very little learnable area, but it doesn't have the effect of being invisible in a range. It should be. The gem starfish's mastery of the skill has exceeded the result of the skill itself. On the other hand, Arju didn't stop Saki from leaving and jumped directly from the high hole. His movements were very vigorous, and before Zyraksha could react, he had already picked up our crossing. "Thank you. Thanks to you guys who forced Saki. Now is not the time to talk. If you can, please keep it a secret," Arju said, carrying her daughter with one hand, and jumped up at the same time afterwards. The other hand grabbed the fork bat, and was led by the fork bat, and flew away from the cave in the right eye. Wait. Zyraksha still wanted to ask about the situation, but the other party had disappeared. Then Junsha and the alliance trainer of the brigade rushed into the altar of the moon. You guessed that it was precisely because Arju didn't want to be caught by Junsha that he let Saki go away. Even if Saki was caught, it would be very bad for the current rockets. Although the tragedy at the scene shocked Junsha and the alliance trainers who came to Junsha. Junsha quickly figured out the situation. "You are Eminem and Zyraksha, right? Dr. Jumu told us about the situation you reported. Where are the rockets?" A short-haired Junsha, who was wearing a standard Junsha uniform skirt and looked quite capable, came over to ask Eminem at this moment. Zyraksha hesitated to speak, and finally she simply lowered her head and did not speak. "After hearing your voices, I left invisibly." Eminem naturally told the truth, but didn't mention the names of those people. "Invisibility?" The short-haired Junsha frowned when he heard the words, as if thinking of something. "Well, use gem starfish to invisibly cover a large area." Eminem continued to tell the truth. "So, that's how it is." The short-haired Junsha seemed to have guessed who the other party was, and immediately said to Emu, who had not recovered from the aftermath of the poisoning, "There are medical personnel behind, and they will send you out immediately." "No, I'm not that fragile, and I still have to tame Pokémon." Amu stood up after supporting the ground. Short-haired Junsha was taken aback when he heard the words. After all, Eminem looks quite embarrassed now. Not only has the sequelae of poisoning, but also is obviously injured. According to what he said, he should have just escaped from birth. He still has the mind to tame Pokémon, and this kind of taking advantage of the fire is not advocated. Short-haired Junsha looked at the injured and fainted Pokémon everywhere, and couldn't help reminding Eminem seriously, "No, the Pokémon I want to tame," Eminem said, looking for it in the surrounding shadows. Short-haired Junsha followed his gaze, but only had doubt. At this moment, 6 or 7 Gen ghosts rushed out all of a sudden. "Loo la la la," all of them sticking out their tongues and grimacing, startled Junsha and the alliance trainers who were rescuing Pokémon around. GGG. The Gen ghosts who succeeded in pranking each other burst into laughter. Everyone. The pranks of ghost-type Pokémon are always so inappropriate and do not look at the atmosphere, especially Jenga. The last test that was agreed. Let's go through the process quickly. Eminem stretched out his finger and swiped it from left to right. Well, at first glance, I really can't tell which one evolved from the ghost stone he knew, unless the other party talks or shows more temperament. Now every Gen GUI has a grinning expression, which is very troublesome. That's but you from Among Us find I too, even if you pass the test, only One chance, several. Ghost said one sentence at a time. Seeing this scene, the Alliance trainer at the scene couldn't help but look at Eminem enviously. If it's just GUI, although he will be very envious, but it's not enough to drool. However, GUI, who evolved at the moon altar, has the potential to be cultivated to the level of a heavenly king. There are also people who are nervous for Eminem, although they have been tested in this way. They should be subdued, but if they choose the wrong one, I saw Eminem looking over one by one, then scratching his head and saying that, can you choose whoever you choose and take away? Look, I saved you just now, right? I don't want that one GUI can't, everyone. Are you not afraid that Ghost will break up with you on the spot? At this moment, one of GUI jumped out and shouted, bastard. Please explain clearly to this seat. What do you mean it's not up to me? Can these idiot GUI do it too? Not only was this wave exposed, but the other Ghosts looked at it with unkind eyes. At this moment, Eminem took the opportunity to fly over with a pokeball. Hey, I can't subdue Pokémon like this. Hey. The short-haired Junsha just wanted to remind you that this way can't subdue Pokémon, but I saw the elf ball swaying, and then it actually lit up the glorious effect of successfully subduing it. Chapter 98 as expected of a ninja. Ghost, subdued. Eminem retrieved the pokeball, looking like he had succeeded. The people around couldn't help being speechless for a while, and looked at the other GUI expectantly. Could it be that the GUI here is just so casual? But obviously there is no such good thing. At this moment, the other Ghosts laughed GG and hid in the shadows to leave. TCH, a bad GUI, coupled with a bad trainer. Pixie muttered at this moment. Of course, it was the Pixie that Eminem knew first. After all, there are no other Pixie who are picking their noses. The short-haired Junsha has some doubts whether this Pixie is disguised by the rockets and tried it with Junsha's power. After feeling this subtle connection, Pixie stroked the curls on his head and said, little girl, do you want to have a date with me? Junsha, with short hair, this feeling is indeed a Pokémon. It's just, do you want to go on the road together? Eminem directly invited. No, you can find another idiot Pippi who has never seen the world. Pixie looked impatient. The short-haired Junsha and other league trainers all looked surprised. Pixie, who is so agile in telepathy, is rare. I think you are a good match for the pharmacist. Eminem seemed to be discussing. Oh, is there any other reason? Pixie said with a testing tone. Well, and each person can only take in 2 Pokémon in Eugene Mountain every year. You and GUI have the highest level, and the belly drum attacking Pixie has a surprise effect. In addition, if Pixie is used as a support, the ability the noodles are pretty good to us all. Who told you to say this? Are you investigating me? Pixie couldn't help interrupting as she heard more and more on point, and at this moment, Eminem said there is a flaw, and then threw the elf ball out. Of course, the result was that Pixie waved back. There is a hairy loophole. Are you still a trainer? Do you rely on loopholes to subdue Pokémon? Speaking of subduing Pokémon, of course it is. You said, and release Ghost. It's time for battle. Come on, Ghost. GG, idiot. Pixie, let you know how powerful I am. I'm dying of laughter. Who was the one who hugged my thigh just now? Pippi. Obviously. Both of them are not in good condition now, but at this time they are still a pair, and they are still fighting high point after some weak chickens who obviously had no physical strength pecked at each other. Both of them fell to the ground panting at the same time. Afterwards, Eminem took GUI back with a constricting light, and also threw the elf ball at Pixie. This time, after shaking it, the light effect of confining successfully flashed. The surrounding Junsha and Alliance trainers have been unable to complain. Of course, Eminem felt that the reason why Pixie was subdued was not so much because of himself, but because of his good friend GUI. After thinking about it, Amos found that this Pippi hadn't evolved in 30 years, and the reason should be that he was waiting for GUI to come back. The two quotas were all used up, and Armu didn't stay along and rejected the short-haired Junsha's proposal. to leave him for treatment. The poison has been cured, but there is some staying power. Even if he sees a doctor, there is only drink more hot water, rest more and other programs. A little trauma is a scratch. It is a trivial matter, so Armu took Zyraksha, who was still emotionally complicated, and left Yuji Anshin Point. Zyraksha was still a little silent along the way, until more than 2 hours later, when the two of them were already riding an armored rhinoceros and running in the forest. Zyraksha couldn't help asking, what we saw before, is it really a cadre of Team Rocket? Maybe. The world of adults is very complicated. Just like me, I seem to be an excellent trainer, but at the same time I'm also an expert pharmacist, Eminem said intentionally. Point. Sure enough, Zyraksha rolled her eyes when she heard it. You haven't passed your expert certificate yet, and I'm also an adult. Regarding the matter of Arju and our crossing, Armu also stroked in his heart. Point. If I'm not mistaken, it should be within the Rockets, because Sakuji wants to compete for the Kanto League Championship. There have been serious differences, and there are even signs of civil strife. Point. Sachi, who participated in this operation, is obviously an opponent of Sakuji, and Masashi, who was not at the scene, should also cooperate with Sachi. Point. And Arju should have noticed something, and is working on digging out the unstable factors inside the organization. It's just that when Arju acted, the unknowing daughter A Crossing was alarmed. Ghoststone, who is now Armu's Genji UI, followed Arju to find those bad guys before, but Arju was not with them, so he should be following Arju and investigating. Point. And Arju found Ghoststone, who was following him, and got rid of it. After that, Ghoststone found A Crossing, who was following his father by a coincidence. The old Aju. Before Aju came to Eugian Mountain, she should have discovered her daughter and planned to use her daughter to lure out the behind the scenes. Point. But if it wasn't for Armu, who forced out Saki by mistake, Aju probably wouldn't have succeeded. Point. Amu even suspected that the reason why he went so smoothly this time was probably because there was a small group of members of the Rockets who had scouted and sent letters, and Aju secretly solved it just to help him force out the leader of the opponent. Point. If there is no Armu, it will probably only be Aju who will take the initiative to teach a few small bosses, and the secret Saki will not be exposed. By the way, you are indeed a ninja. Eminem couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Point. He actually fished with his daughter. Zyraksha also recovered some of her mentality at this time, and then continued, of course, the light red gym of the owner of Aju's gym should be the most authentic ninja school gym in Kanto now. Well, ninja training is also a genre of Pokémon trainers. Generally speaking, the attributes are mainly fighting and poisonous, and the attributes are mainly known for speed. However, if we want to talk about the historical origins of ninjas, we still need to look at the Golden City we are going to in the future. It's just that the owner of the Nazi Hall now, could the owner of the Nazi Hall be the same? When Zyraksha mentioned the admired Nazi, suddenly, I remembered what Eminem said before. Those people in the Rockets mentioned Nazi and Aju together. Who knows? Eminem shrugged. Point. Unlike Aju, who has no bad deeds in the animation, Nazi also used the devil head script in the animation. Point. As for what Zyraksha wants to say, Armu actually knows. 800 years ago in the Kanto area, there used to be many countries, and there were 5 of the largest ones, which were located near Nabi City, which is now rocky in the northwest, the sandstone area near the Bayan Mountain Quartz Plateau in the west, and the mountains and sea in the northeast. Around Hualan City, the rich area centered on Jinhuang City in the east, and the Orange Islands off the southeast coast. At the same time, a large number of ninjas of various camps are active. Although they no longer exist now, some cultures continue to this day. Point. After the Alliance era, ninja culture is also prevalent in Light Red City and Golden City. Until 5 years ago, Jinhuang City was still a place where fighting gyms were popular, and 5 years ago, Nazi opened a superpower gym in Jinhuang City. Point. In the past, Golden City was known as the hometown of ninjas, and it has been hundreds of years, but now when it comes to Golden City, the first thing most people think of is Super Queen. Jinhuang City is also the next stop of Amu and Zyraksha. It is in the southeast of Eugian Mountain. Chapter 99. Acquaintances in Jinhuang City. Get out of the way. Didn't you see our boss and eldest sister coming? Bastards. What are you looking at? See? The fist the size of a sandbag. As Soon as he arrived in Jinhuang City, Eminem encountered the scene of this villain cleaning the street point. If the other party changes his identity, Eminem really likes this opportunity to pretend to be slapped in the face. But now Pixie and Zheng Jiui are leading the way for Eminem and Xiaoxia. This is very embarrassing. If it wasn't for training them yesterday, I promised them both that I would take them to play in Golden City today. If it is not easy to break the contract now, Eminem would have taken these two embarrassing guys back long ago. They're definitely intentional. Armu lowered his head and almost covered his face, but he was still being pointed and laughed by the passers-by around him. That's right, these are Pikosi and Jenga, even the latter, although it is a ghost type Pokémon, although the expression looks like a grin, although the eyes are blood red, but it must be in the dark, or in a place with few people to scare people, otherwise, in broad daylight, everyone will only notice its round, fleshy body. These two have more aggressive attitudes than the other, but in the eyes of passers-by, they have no actual deterrent effect. The good news is that you don't have to worry about someone reporting Junsha. The bad news is that Eminem is being pointed at and laughed at along the way. Seeing that Xiaoxia didn't respond, Armu looked up a little and found that Xiaoxia was far away from her. Seeing Eminem looking at her with resentment, Xiaoxia immediately pretended to use the illustration book to communicate remotely. Of course, it was not entirely pretend. She was indeed using the communication function. Yeah, we're here. An incident happened to you. Okay. See you at the Pokémon Center. As soon as she heard there is an incident, Eminem guessed with her feet who she was contacting. Yuanzi? They have already arrived in Jinhuang City? Armu also leaned over at this time, pretending that I don't know them both. Yes, and they also have local friends. They want to introduce them to us. In the next 2 days, we can visit Golden City with them. Xiaoxia said with great anticipation. If Rainbow City is the center of the Kanto region, then Golden City is the center of Eastern Kanto, and in terms of history, Golden City has more foundation because Rainbow City was built after developing a part of Viridian Forest after the Alliance era. Rainbow City was still a big forest 100 years ago. Therefore, although Rainbow City is the largest city in Kanto, Golden City is more suitable for sightseeing. Aren't you from East Kanto? Have you never been to Golden City before? Amu asked in wonder. Isn't Ulan City also in Dongguan? Even if Eminem insists on counting, he has spent longer in Dongguan City. After all, Songzao town is located on the edge of Qianhong City, and it is also Dongguan City. However, Eminem had only been to Light Red City before, and in terms of footprints, he was more active in Ziguan. No, I haven't traveled far since I was a child, except that my father would occasionally take me out for competitions. Xiaoxia was still a little suffocated as she spoke. After Xiaoxia ran away from home, she also flew directly to Ziguandu. Counting the two Dongguandu people, Emu and Xiaoxia, they have not actually visited the Golden City. When I came to the Pokémon Center, Mew also saw Xiaolan and Yuan's acquaintance, a girl who looked about the same age as the two of them, with a high ponytail hairstyle, and looked. Mew was a little face blind. Looks familiar, but in short, a high ponytail is right. Xiaoxia, Armu, this way. Yuanzi waved. Hey, chick. Are you also the boss's horse? That's not okay. We need to be more unrestrained. Our boss, although he is face blind, he is also very picky. Yuanzi? The three of them stared blankly at Pikexi and Zheng Jiui in front of them. Is this your new tamed Pokémon? Sonoko asked speechlessly. No, I don't know. Eminem directly denied. Just now we heard from Yumi, you tamed a Pikosi and a Genghost in Eugian Mountain, and it is said that they are all very qualified? Xiaolan was obviously not so easily deceived. Yumi's big mouth. Mew muttered. I didn't see Yumi when I was in Tsukumi-san before, but obviously she has been transferred to Jinhuang City. After all, when she was in Nabi City, she also handled several major cases and stopped kids theft. Although Armu and Xiaoxia didn't delay much time on the road, they were basically on their way, but there was definitely no motorized Junshakuri. I think Yumi heard from her colleague that she met Armu in Eugian Mountain. This is a good friend that Yuanzi and Xiaolan talked about, right? Hello, my name is Amu. Amu said and wanted to change the topic. But, my name is Hee. Please take care of me. Hee. Hee-kan smiled and avoided shaking hands with Eminem. Eminem glared at the two Pokémon. Sure enough, Pixie and Genji UI would lower their own evaluation. From Hee's point of view, what evil intentions would the cute Pixie and Genji UI have? It must have been learned from the trainer. Amu also wanted to cry about this, but fortunately Yuanzi and Xiaolan had known Amu for a long time, but at this moment they looked at Pixie and Genji UI. Curiously, did you name them? Sonoko asked curiously. Eminem is undoubtedly the type who likes to name Pokémon. In fact, there are academic disputes about whether Pokémon should be named. Because Pokémon itself has no name in the group. Pokémon do not communicate with each other in pure language. Just like in Yu-Gi-Anshin, each Poké does not call each other's name when communicating with each other, but has its own unique way to make the same kind understand that they are in the same place. Who is talking among a large group of Pippas. Therefore, many people think that trainers should not name Pokémon, but should follow the habits of Pokémon itself. As long as the tacit understanding is high enough, it will not be called a mess. Good question. My name is Pippi. My name is Ghoststone. At this moment, Pixie and Genji UI were scratched, and they introduced themselves with poses. Sonoko looked at Eminem inexplicably. No, they took it themselves. That's it. When I call them out, they can confuse the enemy. Amu said with a blank look. Sonoko, by the way, where's that brat? Eminem looked around suspiciously. Could it be that Conan's card perspective technology has been improved to a higher level, and he can't even see it normally? Conan, He is still investigating what happened before. Xiaolan was still a little worried when she said it, mainly because she was worried that he would make trouble for Hee. Amu was not surprised when he introduced himself just now. He was already mentally prepared. I think the reason why I met Yumi just now should be the cause of the incident. It seems that Yumi's official luck has not been interrupted. Let's not worry about Hee. He will take good care of Conan. Go to eat first, and then go directly to Tangshan Tower to meet them. Hey, said Hee as a landlord. Don't look at her dissatisfied look. In fact, she still looks forward to seeing Hee after the case is solved. As for what kind of event, Eminem didn't want to know at all. Amu and Xiaolan first went to the Pokémon Center to open a room, put their luggage, and wash up briefly. In addition, Amu tried to confuse. No, he introduced another interesting place to Pixie and Genji UI frankly, which is teacher Jumu's research institute, hoping to exchange Mido and Armen back as soon as possible. Chapter 100 Special Tour Group. After opening the room at the Pokémon Center, Eminem simply called Sangzao Town and reported to Grandma Leixi and King Mui that they were safe. In addition, send Pixie and Genji UI to Dr. Jumu, and they will be subdued. The coconut egg tree and Nidoking that were automatically sent back at the time were exchanged. This is how I can finally go out in peace. After lunch, Kazuha took everyone to Tangshan Tower, and on the way Kazuha began to call Hee impatiently. Fortunately, Hee and Conan solved the case quickly enough when Amu and others came to Tangshan Tower. The two were already waiting here. Hee wears a baseball cap and looks dark-skinned. I don't know if he thought he was from Alala, but in fact, Hee is also a pure Golden City native, and like Yoba, has a strong accent. Emu's language ability comes with the Path of God, and belongs to the standard common language of the Alliance. How about the incident? Hee asked indifferently. That's needless to say, Hee said, straightening his baseball cap over, looking very powerful. Tch, it's fine to leave it to the Juntious. Hee pouted from the side. Okay, let's go up. Xiaolan was afraid that the two of them would quarrel, mainly because she was afraid that Hee would be offended again, so she hurriedly broke up. At this time, Sonoko also introduced Mew and Xiaolan to Hee. Afterwards, a group of people took the elevator to the top of the tower, and Eminem suddenly felt a little apprehensive. I would have tamed a flying Pokémon if I knew it earlier. Always thought that the tower might be blown up. I can only hope that the two of them have just handled the case and are now cooling off. Shinichi, who is this guy? It's strange to look at us. Hee asked Conan in a low voice. First of all, don't call me Shinichi. Conan quickly corrected. It is said to be the top of the tower, but I still have to circle around for a while. There are many exhibits about the history of Jinhuang City here. Speaking of our golden city, it is of course a place of interest in the ninja period. Look, there is also a historical map restored according to records. Heiji introduced in front of a conspicuous huge map. Armu looked at it and couldn't help being speechless for a while. I just heard about it vaguely before, but I didn't feel anything. After all, there are many ninjas in the original Pokémon, but now this, about the location of Nabi City. It says Land of Earth. To the west of Viridian City, it says Land of Wind. In the center of Golden City, it says Land of Fire. In the northeast, around Hualan City and the surrounding seaside mountains, it says Land of Thunder Country, where the Orange Islands, written the Country of Water. This is too familiar. I've heard of it too. Golden City is the capital of the Land of Fire, right? Yuanzi said suddenly. Yuanzi. Xiaolan stopped her softly from the side. Conan had a look of you really don't know much. Sure enough, the people around who heard it also had expressions of smiling and not saying a word, which made Yuanzi feel embarrassed. No, it's not the capital, but the most important place in that era, Ninja Village. You can still see that later. Heiji began to popularize science. Yuanzi couldn't help but blushed, then looked left and right and said, do you all know? No, Eminem, it must be the first time you know too. Eminem did just know that. After all, he only studied pharmacy and trainer skills before, and he didn't have enough time. How could he have time to study history? And it's just the history of a region. Well, I don't know, but I didn't say it. Eminem smiled slightly. Sonoko. Soon, a group of people came to the top of the tower, where they could really go sightseeing. It was surrounded by transparent floor-to-ceiling glass. Walking down in a circle, they could almost overlook the entire urban area of Jinhuang City. When they turned to the west, Eminem also saw that Heiji just said that they wanted to see. I saw that in the western part of the city, there was a huge mountain wall that was obviously maintained on purpose, on which 7 huge heads were engraved. Look, that's the most famous Hokage rock in Golden City. The heads of the 7th Hokage are engraved here. Heiji proudly introduced. Slim Shady, at least you don't say the word Hokage. It's even more against the law. Mew. What's the matter? Xiaoxia found that Mew's expression was strange. No, it's nothing. It's just that I have little knowledge. Eminem said truthfully. Eminem also doesn't understand what's going on in this world, so he can only try his best to persuade himself to adapt. For example, now, he is listening to Heiji, in Golden City, introducing Hokage rock to himself. Now that everyone has seen the statue of the 7th Hokage, Eminem wants to confirm it thoroughly. May I ask the name of the most famous Hokage? Speaking of Hokage, the most famous one is the Whirlpool. Heiji was in the middle of speaking when he was suddenly interrupted by an old passerby next to him. Of course it's the Shinjuba Shirama of the first Hokage. I saw that the old man was short and fat and a little bald, but when he talked about the most famous Hokage, his eyes were very stubborn. It's not easy for Heiji to argue with an old man which Hokage is more famous in history, but Heiji noticed the badge on the old man's chest at this time. But, old man, this badge you are wearing is the family crest of the Uchiha clan, right? Heiji said in a tone of, are you a fake fan? Family crest? Eminem murmured suspiciously. That's a remnant from the time when surnames and families were still important. By the way, I heard that in the Kanto area, the first person in history to advocate no surnames was the first generation of Hokage. But until the Alliance period, the surname the importance faded away. Xiaoxia explained from the side. The original intention of surnameless should be to weaken the blood inheritance system, thereby weakening private ownership. Some sociologists believe that the more harmonious society in the Alliance period essentially depends on this, but it is obviously not thorough. After all, although Sonoko is rarely called Suzuki Sonoko, it does not change the fact that she is the eldest lady of the Suzuki family. It's just that Eminem is not a sociologist, so he didn't think much about it at this time. And the bald old man didn't feel embarrassed when he saw Heiji's questioning. He just explained, you said this badge, brother. Uchiha, why are you still here? Hokage-sama is going to be angry. At this moment, a young man with a certain overbearing came over and greeted the bald old man. Sorry, brother Sarutobi, I forgot the time. The bald old man greeted Point and EG and the others were puzzled at this moment. Uchiha. Sarutobi. Obviously. This is no coincidence. Their names, no, should be code names, or related to the historical family of the ninja era. The bald old man explained at this time. I'm joking. Actually, we are a special tour group. We all met on the internet, and are lovers of ninja culture. We especially like Konoha Ninja Village in the Land of Fire, so the 5 of us make an appointment, when we come to Golden City, to play together in the past few days. We will also draw identities first. They represent the Senju clan, Uchiha clan, Sarutobi clan, Hyuga clan, and Uzumaki clan. After that, it's not just the code name and badge that are different, right? He asked with interest. That's right. For the rest of the day, Uchiha, Sarutobi, and Hinata will all obey Senju's orders. Usually it's just buying water, carrying bags, etc., said the young man. But, at night, Senju has to invite Sarutobi and Hinata to dinner. At this time, another middle-aged woman who still doesn't recognize her age came over and we couldn't help asking. The Uchiha is a bit miserable, right? You have to be ordered, but not invited to dinner. That's right. But Uchiha also has a privilege. That is, he can ask Senju for something after dinner, and if he doesn't give it, Uchiha can punch him. The middle-aged woman explained. Point Slim Shady, the meaning of your game is a bit real. Dang. Regarding the timeline of Conan, everyone knows that the original work is quite chaotic, and the random entry here will not be in order. Zio AI has not yet appeared, and it is expected to appear at a very late stage in the Kanto volume. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.